Hey everyone, Yoyston here, and I hope you all are doing well, wherever you are in Middle-earth, and I hope you're all staying warm. Today I'm doing my first charity livestream in the spirit of the hobbits during the long winter, who gave pity and kindness to one another and survived the long winter. And for that reason, I chose the International Rescue Committee to aid those all around our own Middle-earth today. Oh no, we got feedback. Give me one sec. There we go. I chose, the International Rescue Committee to aid those all around our own Middle-earth. It's not too much, but I hope to help in some small way with this stream. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given us. Thank you guys all so much for being here. I hope I sound all right. Let me know if I need to change any settings or anything. I think we're okay. Let me get the bag end Latro ambience here. Awesome. I went ahead and made the first donation to the charity about 20 minutes ago. Don't give more than you feel you should, but every little bit really helps. Thanks so much. Thank you guys all so much for being here, and thanks to everybody who retweeted on Twitter or shared on Facebook or shared wherever. It means a lot. We're all just here trying to help. So this is my first charity live stream, so I'm curious to see where all of the new tools and stuff are. Let me take a look here. Now I'm muted, so I shouldn't get any feedback. Perfect. Okay, now I can see the donation. How are you all today? Yeah, so Grimdark, thank you so much for Grimdark is one of our patrons. Thank you so much for being a moderator here today. Helen is going to not join the stream, but I think people will be in the chat later. We were all trying to, in our Tolkien YouTube Discord, we were all trying to figure out some way to combine live streams or do something this holiday season, but it didn't end up working out, unfortunately. But no, I think we'll see Helen in the chat later. Marion Baggins, I'm glad to see you here. I see you just woke up. I'm sorry you're tired. Hopefully some laughs and some Tolkien lore can help wake you up. Awesome. So we got our first donation here. Plixie, thank you so much for the donation. Again, every little bit helps. It means so much. Mitch Miller, greetings from Canada, Middle-earth family. Greetings from Colorado, in the U.S. Ooh, John, long last name, donated to the IRC. Thank you so much. Anonymous, thank you all so much. Oh, another anonymous. Thank you so much. Wow, we're off to a great start. This is so awesome. Thank you all so much for being here and for joining me with this charity live stream. Grimdark, thanks so much for the donation. Yeah, we're already almost a quarter of the way to our goal, so we'll see how far we can go. As everybody starts to join in, feel free to start asking questions and we'll get some lore discussions going. I'm always a little nervous when I start live streams. I'm just used to having the ability to edit and be like, oh no, that was stupid, I'm gonna cut that or rephrase that or whatever. But on a live stream, it's like everything is just real. It's like, I wish I could hear you guys have a conversation. I think that would make things easier too. It's just me hearing my own voice for 3 hours. John, hello from the swamps of Louisiana. I hope it's good down there right now. I know there have been some tornadoes and everything, so I hope you all are staying safe. Oh, awesome. We got some more donations. Nathaniel McInnes, thank you so much for your donation. Another anonymous. And Charles Jones, thank you so much. So Tony Mishler asks, what are we donating for? So this year and last year with COVID and everything have been some crazy things have happened both nationally, internationally, on really every stage. So because Middle-earth is such an international kind of story, and not only in our world, but the story of Middle-earth within itself, it's about elves and dwarves and men coming together from different countries to help each other. And so today I chose the International Rescue Committee so that we can kind of send that help where it should be throughout the world, where it needs to be. Yeah, Tony Mishler, thank you so much for the donation. Oh, we've got, I mean, speaking of the international community, we've got people from James from South Africa. Hello, how are you doing? The Kruli, hello from Switzerland. Angelo from Brazil. Thank you all so much for being here. I'm so glad everybody could be here. It's awesome. Yeah, so let's see here. What kind of conversation should we start? I'm seeing some Ar-Pharazôn conversations happening here. So I actually recently, we're going to talk about this on our next Patreon exclusive podcast next week, but I've been seeing a lot about Ar-Pharazôn recently, like some questions about how was he perhaps a three-dimensional character, or what were some of his more redeeming qualities, even though overall he was not he was an evil character. I mean, his ability, even in a time of strife and civil divide, to be able to command such a force and still to rule Numenor in such a way that could command a lot of people is interesting. But again, it shows how evil, what purpose he used that for. It kind of shows how evil he is. Hello, everybody. Everybody's showing up. Thank you so much for being here. Comic Nut 64, Merry Christmas, Yoyston. In The Hobbit, the elves were celebrating the Starlight Festival. What holidays do the dwarves celebrate? Please, sorry for these drunken Discord DMs. That's all right. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, everybody. The dwarves. I went through all of the holidays in Middle-earth last year. I don't know. The dwarves definitely celebrate Durin's Day, but I don't know if they celebrate, like, the Yuletide per se. Let me know in the live chat if I'm wrong about that. I don't know if they celebrate the Yuletide per se. Mark73, thank you so much for the donation. Mallory Foster, thank you so much. Means a lot. So sorry for the names that I'm going to probably screw up, but I'm so sorry. But I appreciate all the support. Joseph, thanks for the donation. And another anonymous, thank you so much. Let's see. Turin Tarambar asks, do you have... Wait, that's just... it's a funny thing. Turin Tarambar asks, do you have an iTunes option to donate, bro? I don't. So I'm still kind of new to how all these tools work. I'm running this charity live stream through YouTube itself, so I'm not exactly sure how I would link that with iTunes, but I'm glad Turin Tarambar is asking about iTunes. That's awesome. Grimdark, yes, thank you so much for the gift. I did get Total War. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Comic Nut 64, Adam Glennon, thank you guys so much for the donations. Oh, this is awesome. We're already getting to our goal. Oh, we're almost halfway there. That's great. Thank you guys so much. Happy holidays, everyone. Some of these usernames I can't read. But Mallory Foster, I'm glad I can support you in the cause that is close to your heart. Thank you so much. That means the world to me. Thanks for being here. Some of these usernames I can't read though, but I appreciate you all being here. Berserker of Thrawn asks, what do you think would happen if the dwarves found the nameless things? I guess it depends on what age they found them. I feel like in the Fourth Age, they'd be like, all right, let's get it. Like, we have this force, we just reclaimed Khazad-dûm, we've got Durin the Seventh. They would probably, it would result in more catastrophe for the dwarves, I'm sure, depending on how powerful these nameless things actually are. But I imagine, depending on the timing of it, they would probably be okay. Francisco Matalana, thank you so much for the donation. Balrog Barf, thank you so much. It means a lot. Anonymous, thank you to both Anonymous. Julie Bryan asks, can you make an epic character history on Eladon and Elrohir? Yeah, that's a great idea. And I like that you combine the two, so yeah, that'd be a good one. I'll put it in my own notes. Yeah, thanks for everybody showing up. This is awesome. Greer Rakobs asks, do you play Third Age Reforged? I do. That's Battle for Middle-earth, right? That's I believe so. Usually what I play with my patrons is we have a very specific version of Battle for Middle-earth that we can play. We play Rise of the Witch King, and then we have a certain update that's like an unofficial patch kind of thing. That's like the only one we can play, otherwise it'll crash and not work, I think. Eladon and Hey, Helen, Clueless Fangirl, thank you so much for your donation. Everyone, my friend Helen at the Clueless Fangirl on YouTube and Twitter, she makes amazing Lord of the Rings Silmarillion content. Please check her out if you haven't already. I love her longer live streams, her deep dives into characters and settings and lore. If you're wanting to know more about Numenor, check out her channel. Yeah, thank you so much for being here, Helen. It means a lot. Mijay donated. Thank you so much. It means a lot. So yeah, on the live stream, let's see, somebody asking is who are those artworks on the wall of? So I think this is from Latro. This is Bag End from Latro. I believe one of those is Bilbo's father, the one on the far left. Either it's Bilbo's father or it's could be Bull Roarer, but I think it's Bilbo's father. The other one is just like Hobbit children playing, and then the other one I want to say is just an Elf Lord. It could be I don't want to say it's Gil-galad because he doesn't have the spear. Just some kind of elf warrior. It could be Glorfindel. Kind of looks like him. Scott, thank you so much for the donation. Yeah, I absolutely agree, Clueless Fangirl. Next year, I'd love for all of us to do something together. Let's see here. Hello to everybody showing up. Thanks so much for being here. The Nonchalant Ostrich. I love that name. Thank you so much for your donation. That's awesome. It means a lot. Let's see. So yeah, I mean, people are asking about the Amazon show. So we haven't gotten too much news. The most recent thing with the Amazon show that I've heard recently is last night, I believe, on the OneRing.net's live stream that they do every Tuesday night. The Amazon show creators, they sent Clifford, Broadway over there, and the rest of the folks over at OneRing.net, they sent them a package with, I think it had the book in it and like a bookmark with the date of when the show is gonna start. So we don't have too much news on it. I'm curious to see when they drop a trailer. If it's anything like the Wheel of Time, it'll be like August of next year before they drop a trailer. Now I'm excited. I'm hoping that it really pays off, you know? All the hype, all the money, all the writing that's going into this show. The stress for some, I'm sure. I hope it does pay off. Marion Baggins, if Tolkien wrote the best world building, who comes after Tolkien in the best world building? That's a great question, and it's definitely super subjective. But I've heard some people say, right, the Witcher series is kind of like a very good successor, especially in terms of the world building. I mean, I've recently this year played Witcher 3, even though I don't know that much about that Polish mythology with The Witcher. But it seems like a very vast and big world. I've also heard that the Elder Scrolls, that's a good successor. In that, I would agree. I'm replaying Skyrim right now with a bunch of mods, some Lord of the Rings mods in there, of course, as well. Yeah, it depends. It depends on kind of what world building you're after. George R. R. Martin, of course, you have to mention A Song of Ice and Fire because he takes the tropes of Tolkien and then turns them on their head for better or for worse. Who else? I've heard Wheel of Time is a good kind of successor. I don't know that much about Wheel of Time, to be honest, so. Ah, okay. Grimdark says Witcher books have good world building, but nothing special. I mean, it makes sense. I guess you follow like primary characters the whole time, so it's not like the Silmarillion where let's talk about Fingon, and then we're gonna jump and talk about somebody else on the other side of the continent. Nathan Blazy says, do you have any plans for any alternate history event videos? So for me, those are kind of like the theory videos. It's like, what would have happened had we changed one particular moment in the Legendarium? And I'm super careful with those. I don't want my theories to be like, or my alternate histories to be too disrespectful or get too far away from the lore, but I've got some ideas. One I'm particularly excited about making at some point is what if Gil-galad survived the War of the Last Alliance video, where it's like, what would Gil-galad's kingdom have looked like in the Third Age, and how would that have impacted men and elves and all of these things? Be quite fascinating. Helen from the Clueless Fangirl says, Witcher has no maps. She says R.R. Martin. Well, so with The Witcher, again, I haven't read the books, but from the Witcher 3 game, there is a big world map, at least of like that you can travel in, but I'm not sure if that's like canon, you know, or if that's kind of like a almost Shadow of War type of thing, where it's like, oh, here's Mordor, but kind of, but not really, you know. Let's see here. Yeah, thanks for everybody showing up. I know people are still coming into the stream, so thanks so much for being here. Adam Glennon, just wanted to say thank you for all your hard work. Your videos have really helped my mental health over the years. Hope you and all have a wonderful Christmas and a great New Year. Love and warmth, Adam. Thank you so much. That really means a lot to me. I'm glad my videos could be there for you. Voice of Geekdom, thanks for being here, and thanks for the donation. Yeah, guys, so if you want to check out Dan from Voice of Geekdom, he makes similar content with like Helen, but also he's been exploring the First Age. I had the honor to record lines for Thingol as he's been making his way through the tales of Beleriand. So go check out Voice of Geekdom's channel. Yeah, thanks for being here. Michael asks, have you ever played the Lord of the Rings D&D setting, Adventures in Middle-earth? You know, I want to. Over the last year and a half, I've gotten a lot more into D&D. I'm sure some of you know him, Ryan, who's my like co-host on the podcast, and he sometimes does live streams with us. He and I are actually co-hosting, co-DMing a D&D campaign right now. It's lasted about 5 months so far. It's been so fun. So I'd love to get into Adventures of Middle-earth, especially after this current campaign ends. That would be something fun to do. Anonymous, thank you so much for the donation. It really means a lot. Ooh, I'm gonna butcher this name. I'm sorry. Eralastlingor? How are you all enjoying the nature of Middle-earth? You know, I like it. It provides backup to some of the things we see in the Peoples of I want to say the Peoples of Middle-earth, book like 11 or 10 of the History of Middle-earth saga. It provides a lot of backup to that, to Morgoth's Ring. I like it. It's quite complicated, though, which you would expect, Tolkien's notes, but I like some of the things that it adds. The Bears of Numenor, for instance. Deline says, Discworld has plenty of world building. Yeah, that's true. Ryan has told me a lot about that one. That's really good. Alicia, what do you think of the upcoming Gollum game after the new trailer? You know, so originally I was going to make a video about it with Ryan and just like go through it, break it down, kind of like we did with the picture from the Amazon show, where it's just like the first stage and everything. But to be honest, the trailer didn't give me personally enough to talk about, to go off of. I'm just as excited about the Gollum game as I was, but the trailer didn't give me anything more, if that makes sense. It really didn't do a lot for me. So I'm still wondering about, out of any character to make a video game around, why Gollum? And out of any setting to make a video game about, why Mordor again? So we'll see. Let's see here. Krish asks, what's the best PC game that sticks closest to canon? Absolutely, hands down, Lord of the Rings Online, where I have my fireplace here in Bag End from. Lord of the Rings Online has a lot of great canon moments. Honestly, that's how I've learned a lot of like the smaller things is from Latro. So yeah, check that out. It's definitely an older game, so be prepared for that. It's an older MMO style game, but I absolutely love it. And there are a couple moments obviously where the canon is taken and changed and twisted in the game a little bit, but you know, as you would expect with kind of any adaptation game. But for the most part, I'd say like 98% of it is really faithful lore, and it feels like Middle Earth, which is the important part. Grimdark, Aragorn's Quest again, but not crap. Yeah, I never really played Aragorn's Quest. I've not heard good things about it. But the idea of it is great. I would love to have a video game of Aragorn pre-Lord of the Rings, where he's meeting Gandalf, traveling through the Dead Marshes looking for Gollum, going to Harad, burning down ships in Umbar. I would absolutely love that. Riding with the Rohirrim. Anonymous, thank you so much for the donation. Yeah, we're really coming along here. Let's see. We're 700 of $1,000 raised, and we're not even 30 minutes into this. This is awesome. Thank you all so much. This is great. I'm trying to keep hydrated here because this could definitely be a long one. Thomas, thanks so much for being here. Have you ever read any of Robert E. Howard's Conan stories? I just started reading through them, and they're a lot of fun. Interesting contrast to Tolkien since they were contemporaries. I've actually recently, too, heard amazing things about that. I've got to check those out. I only recently watched, like this summer, watched the Arnold Schwarzenegger Conan, and I liked it. I had fun with it. So I've got to check out that that fantasy there. I think for me, it's funny because like I can always rely on like Tolkien's books, obviously, to be a good read, to be fun and really enjoyable and interesting. From anywhere from like philosophy of characters and psychology of characters to world building and setting and epic moments, all in between. Like Tolkien does such a great job, and reliably so. But there's beyond him, there's such a vast amount of fiction and fantasy out there today that I kind of get lost in like, okay, what other series should I read, you know? Marion Baggins, Tolkas's gym is a wasted location in Middle Earth. Yeah, I'd love to see that. See Tolkas's gym. Yeah, thank you all so much for being here. Processing H, have you ever traveled or plan to travel to New Zealand? I'd love to go someday. I'm not honestly the biggest traveler. I'm very much like a hobbit. But I think as time goes on and the world's still like opening up and kind of coming back to what it once was, it'd be fun. It'd be fun to travel there. I think the unfortunate part with New Zealand from where I'm at is it's like a 20-hour flight, like one way. So be a lot, but it would be worth it to see Middle Earth. The green light bulb, you should use ambience from Lord of the Rings Online. Golden Host on YouTube has done a ton of ambience videos on Latro. I'd love to. The thing is, I'm scared to like use any of their music just for copyright reasons and any of that. But yeah, everybody go check out Golden Host on YouTube. Alicia, what do you think of the Wheel of Time? So, to be honest, so Royan is watching through all of them, and I'm kind of relying on him at the end of the season to tell me whether it's worth it or not. I've only seen the first episode, and that was only because my friends amongst the Tolkien YouTubers were talking about it, and it's like, oh, maybe we can guess some sort of how the Lord of the Rings Amazon show will be from this, even though I've got my thoughts about that, right? The two shows are going to have different writers, different amount of like budget. It's completely different except for I think one director is shared between the two shows and then obviously Amazon. Other than that, completely different. I watched the first episode. It was kind of rough. I wasn't the biggest fan of it. I'll probably go back and watch the season, but right now I don't know. But hopefully the Lord of the Rings show. Yeah, Voice of Geekdom says Wheel of Time is kind of mediocre in my opinion. That's what I saw too. I've also been hearing like book fans were kind of disappointed, so I hope it is a far cry from how Amazon's Lord of the Rings will be, especially for book readers. Deline, thank you so much for the donation to the charity. Means a lot. Phil Chadwick says the second age program will be awful. I'm thinking, I don't know. I like to maintain definitely a more optimistic approach when it comes to it. I think it's definitely possible for them to really pull this off well. I mean, Peter Jackson did it, right? That's what I always try to point to. 20 years ago, Peter Jackson showed us that an adaptation on the big screen for Lord of the Rings could work. My worry has always been with the Amazon show, though. What do they have the rights to, and what don't they have the rights to? So we saw Valinor and Tyrion, and Finrod apparently is who that elf is in the picture. But can they name all those things? Do they actually have the rights to those names and those characters and all of that? Or are they going to say, this is pretty much Finrod, except his voice, or his name is not Finrod, he's completely different, you know? So yeah, we'll see. Helen, you say watch Wheel of Time, it gets better. Okay, all right, yeah. I'll have to keep going with it. It's, you know, I watched the first episode, but yeah. Voice to Geekdom. It made me laugh recently when someone connected with the show described Wheel of Time as the most expensive red-headed stepchild in history. Whoa. Yeah, I'm curious to see where it ends up going. We'll see. I just was not pulled in by that first episode, so that's kind of where I left it for now. Because I also heard the next 2 episodes, until like episode 4, were also very okay. So it's like, oh, I've got to get through that before I get to the good stuff. Berserker of Thrawn, that's a fun question. What do you think would happen if Durin's Bane got the One Ring? Balrogs only serve Morgoth. So we have to remember with that question that Balrogs are Maya, or are Maiar, just like Sauron and Gandalf and all of that. If he'd gotten the One Ring and actually was able to use it, I imagine he would be roughly on the same level of power, raw power, as Sauron, but it's also about intellect, right? Sauron created it, it was a part of him, and he knew how to use it to its fullest extent. The Balrog probably wouldn't, so he would still be weaker than Sauron with the One Ring, I imagine. Like, the Balrog with the One Ring would be weaker than Sauron with the One Ring. But I think from a raw PowerPoint, that's the most interesting part of that question. Anonymous, thank you so much for the donation, means a lot. Alicia, an actress from Hollywood, said in Lord of the Rings Prime, oh, I remember this article. Yeah. Gandalf should be played by a girl. Yeah, I mean, obviously, again, we have our idea of Gandalf and everything. For me, they would really have to justify making that kind of change. Because Gandalf is a Maya. He could change form, in some ways. I mean, it says in the Silmarillion that at times he would walk among the elves, and hope would come unbidden into their hearts. So he could change shape, and he chose to take, just like the other wizards, chose to take that elderly man form when he came into Middle-earth. I just don't know how that would justify making him not the Gandalf we know. But again, he's not even in the Second Age. But from what news we're kind of hearing about the show, it wouldn't surprise me if something like that happened, like something like Gandalf showing up in the Second Age happened. Dealing legally distinct Feanor. That's kind of what I'm worried about with the First Age, or with the Second Age at the Amazon show, but they're flashbacks to the First Age. It's like, this isn't Tyrion. This is Tyrion. You know, it's different, so you can't sue us. Like, that's what I'm worried about. Like, they change it a little bit, because that'll just kind of feel cheap to me. I don't know. Or they change it a whole bunch. They change so many things, and then it barely resembles the source material. Just so, for copyright reasons. I would not be happy with that. Marion Baggins, I noticed when reading Lord of the Rings this year that the movies have the rights to Morgoth, but not Melkor. I think that's a good point. So Morgoth took obviously that name on after Feanor named him that, right? That's kind of the name that he carried throughout the rest of the story. And I think it's because in Lord of the Rings they mention Morgoth a couple times, right? Just from in random places. So it makes sense that they have the rights to that name, but not the name of Melkor, because Melkor is his fallen Vala name. See you, Helen. Thank you so much for being here. Era Las Inglor says, what are your thoughts on the nature of Middle-earth, reiterating the notion that Tolkien thought of the great eagles being Maiar? I like that, actually, because the Maiar were the greatest servants of the Valar, right? They are even called the people of the Valar. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know if I like all of the eagles being Maiar, but maybe Thorondor, maybe Gwaihir, you know, just so that there is some sort of hierarchy of power there, because Ents, right, Treebeard isn't a Maya, and they were also made by Yavanna directly, so it's an interesting thought. I like that. Anonymous, thank you all so much for the donations. It really means a lot. Let's see, where are we at? We're at 743 of 1,000 raised. Thank you so much. This is awesome. Again, we're just over 30 minutes into this, so. James Span asks, I thought the Amazon people had gotten permission from the J.R.R. Tolkien estate to use the Silmarillion et al. Material. As I understood it, Christopher Tolkien was against this, but somehow got overridden. I could see that. I don't know why it wouldn't be a bigger story, I guess. I'm just still a little confused, because there has been mixed reporting of like, oh, they do have the rights to all the Silmarillion, but then why does it seem like we're starting at the end of the Second Age? I mean, it looks like we're going to obviously have flashbacks to like pre-First Age or the Years of the Trees, but why? I don't know. It seems like it's still kind of hidden, a little bit. We'll see. Alice, yeah, this is a charity live stream. This is our first one. Tom, the charity we're helping out today is the International Rescue Committee. I like the idea that, right, with Middle-earth coming together from all different lands, helping each other, that this is what we're doing today. The International Rescue Committee goes to places with humanitarian crises and attempts to help them out, make sure people don't starve, make sure refugees have a place to live and to be. So, yeah, really, it's a really good cause. Red Team Review, Carmine, thanks for being here, man. The only inclination, he says, the only inclination to allow adaptations when the Tolkien family needs a new yacht or are late on their country club fees. I don't know. I disagree with that when it comes to the Tolkien family, but it's definitely a different thing when we're talking about the Tolkien estate or the rights holders at large. Because Christopher Tolkien, you know, he did well throughout his life, of course, being the son of J.R.R. Tolkien, but if he wanted to cash out, if he wanted that money, he would have done that a lot more completely, right? The slot machine thing wouldn't have bothered him so much. But Tolkien, back in, you know, he did sell the rights to the movies for Lord of the Rings and I believe The Hobbit back during his life because he did need money. So, but today, right, the people that own the rights aren't like Christopher Tolkien. They're not exactly who he was. Turin Tarambar, I like your question. Of all the First Age men, who is my favorite one? It's gotta. You're definitely one of them, Turin. Yeah, Phil Chadwick, Carmine throwing a cat amongst the pigeons. I was like, yeah, that's a controversial opinion, but oh, okay, you meant the estate. Yeah, okay. Red Team Review says he meant the estate. Yeah, so again, that's definitely more possible. I'm not exactly sure who owns what rights and what. I don't want to speak bad of the estate because I don't know, but when it's a group of people that didn't write the product, that own the rights to the international or intellectual property, it's a little bit, it definitely gets more muddy. But Turin, to answer your question, Turin is definitely one of my favorites. I like Tor as well. I wish we got more on his story. But I'd probably say first age, Turin. Hello to everybody showing up. Thanks for being here. James Svan says, writing licensed Tolkien stuff is weird. When I worked on the One Ring RPG, I could name drop Turin. That's awesome. That's cool that you worked on that. Because name is in the Fellowship of the Ring, licensed by SZ, but not Anglakiel. Only in Silmarillion, owned by the Tolkien estate. That's fascinating. Yeah, it's funny because like if you name drop, or if Tolkien name dropped something, he name dropped Feanor a couple times, for instance. And Celegon was name dropped in the Council of Elrond. All these things make it kind of like usable if you have the rights to the Lord of the Rings. And so that's kind of what I'm worried about, is that the Amazon show is going to go completely into Numenor, only having the rights from the appendices and from what's mentioned throughout the Lord of the Rings, which, to be honest, isn't that much. So Joseph S. says, I hope people remember that no matter how good or bad the Amazon show is, it's still just a show. It won't change anything in the books. The great stories we have in the books aren't going anywhere. That's a great point. That's a great point. And I completely agree. The tough thing is, it's like the show has a unique opportunity to promote the Silmarillion, to promote the appendices and the unfinished tales. And so if it makes it like, if it gives it kind of a bad reputation, people won't want to go read these stories, even though the stories are great and the show might not be. It's kind of like the Game of Thrones thing, where it's like, oh, season 8 was just not it. And I'm curious to see if that impacts George R.R. Martin's sales. Probably not a lot, because he had established it before the show was even a thing. But season 8 probably doesn't help the later stories, you know, in A Song of Ice and Fire. As Carmine, I'm sure, could talk more to. Erlastlingor, thanks for your donation. Anonymous, thank you so much for the donation. Every little bit helps. The Geek Monster, I'm impressed that Yoistin, wow. Yoistin sounds exactly the same live as he does in his carefully edited videos. Perfect voice and diction. Thank you so much. It's definitely not perfect, but I try to get better. Red Team Review, we don't mention season 8. Yeah, I'm sorry. I know, it's for me the pain is still too near. Yeah. I don't know. Every single show that's like set in any fantasy ever since 2019 is like, ooh, is this the new Game of Thrones? We saw that about The Witcher. Now we're seeing it about Wheel of Time, and I'm sure we'll see it about Lord of the Rings. All these shows. So Game of Thrones is definitely an apt comparison, but oh, Marion Baggins, thanks for the donation. I'm sorry I didn't show up. Mark, you have the diction of a god. Thank you very much. It's been improving over the years. Do it long enough, and it's like, okay, I know what letters I struggle on with a microphone. Hey everybody, thanks so much for being here. No, Ranger of the North, you're good. I might have to go to the bathroom at some point, because I do want to do this stream for around 3 hours, but yeah, we'll keep hanging out. Thanks for being here. Teague, how big do you think Ankelagon really was? I love the fan art and would love for him to be that big, but it does seem kind of excessive. All the size comparison that we have is that he crushed Thengordrim, which were mountainous volcanic peaks. So something either had to be falling that was very large, or he was falling very fast, and he was very dense, or something like that. I agree. A lot of the art is like, man, where were you for the rest of like the earlier part of the First Age? You know, like, you're way too big to have been even underground. So I get that. Dorian Trussell, Yoyston, what are some Middle-earth words in the books that give you tongue twisters? All of Adunaic, the Numenorian language, absolutely. I mean, it's just hard on the ears. There's a lot of Elvish that definitely does, because there are a lot of like S's and S sounds. A lot of I's and E sounds. And when I say I sounds, it's like AI makes the same sound as AE, which makes the same sound as like EI, I want to say. So it's like a lot of I's. Okay, I'll be right back. I'll be gone for like 1 minute. I'll type in the chat just in case more people join. I'm going to hit the bathroom and I'll be right back. BRB. All right, don't go anywhere. Thanks for being here. All right, we're back. Let's see. Did we get more questions? Marion Baggins, my brother, asked me Marvel comic lore questions. Me, brother, I am an expect into the world of Middle Earth, not Marvel. Expert, yeah, and yeah, you can't be an expert everywhere. I certainly, it's funny because I mentioned that I was DMing before, and it's like, it's so hard to remember the DM lore for the whole world that Royan and I like have been creating together, but then also make like Lord of the Rings lore videos. It's a lot. Let's see. Thanks for everybody being here and showing up. Let's check where we're at. 763 out of 1,000. We're getting there. Thank you guys so much. This is such an honor. Alicia asks, would the ring tempt or give power to Morgoth or any of the Valar? Or was their power so great that it would be meaningless to them? That's a good question. That's a good question. I think it would augment their power, but you're right. It, like in a more slight way than perhaps like a Maya, because they're already greater than the one who crafted the One Ring, Sauron. I imagine it would augment it. Yeah, I think so. However, would it tempt them? I have no idea. No idea. Urus Tosh. Could Tolkos beat the Hulk in a fist fight? It depends on which Hulk we're talking about. So, well, kind of. Because I know in some of the canon for Marvel, like, the Hulk gets stronger and bigger the angrier he gets. And so if Tolkos got him very angry. The thing is, I would say in most realities, Tolkos wins because he would knock out the Hulk before the Hulk could get angry, if that makes sense. Tolkos would, because he's innately already ready to go. The Hulk would take time to build that rage, and Tolkos could probably knock him out before he even got to be a threat. Andrew Graham, so going back to an earlier question, does Turin become one of the gods, as it were? No, so that would present some, it's a great question. It would present some theological and philosophical problems for Tolkien, because, and I have, to be honest, I love the ending for Tuor's character after Eärendil becomes like more full grown, and then Tuor and Idril leave Middle Earth, and Tuor joins with elves. However, I must admit that in Tolkien's fantasy, that presents a big problem. And Turin becoming some sort of Vala or god would present something similar as well. The doom of men is set. It's a gift, the gift of death, to leave the world and its circles. That's how Tolkien wrote it. So having these kind of exceptions to that rule with Tor or Turin becoming something greater potentially, they create too many theological problems for me as a reader. So I always think it's more of like, it's more of a literary way to say that Turin sat amongst the greats, right? That he was considered to be one of the greats. And if we're considering Dagor Dagorath, he slew one of the greats with Morgoth. He was the one to kill Morgoth. But I think the heart of that, why that is so impactful of Turin being the one to do that, is he's just a man. And just a man, not even an elf, slew Morgoth. Right? And Morgoth gave hardly any thought to men. He was like, oh, they're servants that I can use if I can corrupt them, whatever. They're not the ones I'm more worried about. I'm more worried about the elves. And so for it to be Turin to do it, it's amazing. So I personally say no. It's a great question. It's a great question. See, Tor was the exception before the law was enacted by Eru, says Eru Lastling Lore. I actually, see, I disagree because Beren came before Tor, and his whole story arc was that he was subjected to the doom of men, and Luthien couldn't follow him, except for when Luthien, you know, was was really good at music and changed Mandos's mind. But Tor's fate, I share the mind of Grimdark here. He says Tor's fate is told by Edain and Noldoran tradition. It still might be a legend. I completely agree. I like to think that it's a legend. He went off to the seas, maybe even found Valinor, like saw Valinor during the last part of his life. And so he was buried there or something, and thus he joined the Eldar, right? It could be kind of a euphemism of him dying in Valinor and thus becoming like the Eldar. I don't know. Thank you all so much for being here. Thanks for showing up. Ranger of the North asks, what do you think is guilty? Who is guilty when it comes to the dwarves versus elves incident at Doriath? Honestly, I think that the dwarves redeemed themselves through their actions. So it's funny how it was written because it's kind of both. If you're looking to blame somebody more, you have to blame the dwarves a little bit more than Thingol, because the dwarves made this necklace, like put the Silmaril into the Nauglamir, and then they said, hey, we want this. But it's like, no, that was what you were commissioned to make. You can't have it too. You know, that's not it. That's not why I hired you, so you could just put it together and take it. Nah. But Thingol's arrogance and his lack of compassion and lack of like care for the dwarves, I think kind of put him in a rough place. He was ignorant of the fact that they could do this and that they had a claim on the Nauglamir. He didn't really, other than just being an elf and having Beren go get it, he didn't really have a claim on the Silmaril. The dwarves had a claim on that necklace, though. It was a dwarvish necklace given to Finrod, but Finrod was slain and his home taken by a dragon. So it's definitely a little bit of both, I would say. That's yeah. But I would blame the dwarves a little bit more. However, it's important to remember that the dwarves that mostly we see in the Third Age with Thorin's company, except for a couple of Thorin's company, but Gimli and all of them, they're Longbeards, whereas these others were Broadbeams and Firebeards. Oh yeah, so let me take a little break here and talk about, so today we're donating to the International Rescue Committee. I like the idea that the hobbits banded together, helped each other out of the hard winter, and so we can do the same here today. Just as the free peoples of Middle-earth came together and aided each other from different points in the world, we can do the same here today. So thanks for donating. Thanks for considering to donate and just for being here. It really means a lot. And I also want to thank our Valar tier patrons. just now that we're about an hour in. Adrian De la Torre, Chris Ortner, Kyle Wetzel, Peter Sheppard, Jonathan Putnam, Mark Kralick, Blair Scouten, Merten, John Hume, Jennifer Wood, Sam McBee, Matt Sibbach, QuantumCatalyst, Elizabeth Calvert, Maz Gibs, Ben Gardner, Condar, Rhys Jenkins, Ádám Petrlik, Khuzan, and Brandon Glidden. Thank you so much. Thanks to all of our patrons. Thanks to Grimdark for being here and moderating today. That means a lot. So, yeah, just wanted to throw that out there. We'll jump back into the questions and lore here. Dorian Trussell, is it bad if casual fans versus hardcore fans to have info lore dumps in the Lord of the Rings show and references? Feel some of the content will be misunderstood for casuals. Guess this benefits Tolkien YouTubers. Actually, as a Tolkien YouTuber, I'm a bit worried about this because it's less about, oh, you know, I want my videos to get a lot of views. I mean, I'm not going to say that that's not nice, right? Cool. Like, my videos are going to help people with the show, but that's where I want the show to be able to tell a coherent story without needing channels like mine. I want them to be able to thoughtfully and respectfully tell the story and tell the lore without needing, you know, channels like mine to do it for them, almost. Because after 20, 30 years, I want the show to still be good, even if whatever happens to my channel, my videos, YouTube itself, that the show is still a coherent piece of art. That's what I'm after. And so with hopefully, like with my channel, Nerd of the Rings, Helen, the Clueless Fangirl, you know, Voice of Geekdom, all like what we're trying to do in Deep Geek, what we're all trying to do is help supplement what comes with the show and what came with the movie by like further exploring the books. But hopefully to tell a coherent story, they don't need us. You know, they don't need our videos. They don't need people on TikTok being like, here's a 60-second breakdown of who Finrod is, right? I hope they're able to tell this by themselves, and then if people want to know more outside of that coherent narrative that they're telling, then they can come to us. So that's what I'm hoping. Yeah. Thanks for being here, and thanks for showing up, everybody. It means a lot. I see some new people in the chat. Kyle asks, so if one of the Silmarils were to return during the Third Age, be it one from the sea or the earth, how fast would the powers that are be hunting for it? Great question. You could have a couple different outcomes. You could have an emissary of the Valar, like Varon. No, sorry, not Varonway. Why am I spacing on his name? I always space out on a couple Silmarillion character names whenever I do a live stream, so bear with me real fast. Eonwë. There we go. Could have Eonwë show up and just say, hey, we know about the Silmaril. We know that I know this isn't the case, but let's just say we know that the Arkenstone of Erebor is the Silmaril that was in the earth. I'm here to recollect it. Can you show me to Erebor, please? I imagine that's probably how it would go. It could cause some conflict. It could cause more conflict between elves and dwarves. Maybe men get involved somehow, depending. It's really interesting. But I imagine they would send an emissary, probably not one of the Valar. Teague, I had my sister watching your videos when she was reading the Silmarillion so she could understand what was going on. Thanks. I'm glad these helped, but it goes back to that whole thing about the show. It's like it's definitely one of the maybe literary flaws of the Silmarillion because it wasn't quite completed yet. When it was released, it wasn't as complete as Tolkien surely wanted it to be. So it's really dense material, and it's kind of too bad that it's really, really hard. It makes it a fun challenge, but it's too bad that for a more casual reader, that you need supplemental materials or videos to explain what you're reading versus being able to kind of just read it, you know, and have the Silmarillion explain itself to you. Or to anyone, myself included. I really, when I got into the Silmarillion, I also needed videos. So shout out to Exploring Series who came before me and helped me with that, and anyone else. Yeah, Voice of Geekdom. My feelings exactly, man. I hope they get the exposition right for the show itself, but also it will increase interest in Tolkien's works in general. See, and I think that's one of my problems with that first episode of Wheel of Time. Me, a person who's never read the book before, I'm like, what is happening and why are they hunting for this person who seems to be so special, this messiah type of character from what I can glean? What am I watching? And then whenever they did explain lore, it was just dense. It was like a lore dump, and it's like, okay, now onto a fighting scene. It's like, well, hold on, what are we doing here? Because I don't care about any of the characters because I don't understand any of the characters. The Lord of the Rings show could easily fall into that trap for people who don't know, for more casual fans. It's like, what? So I know Galadriel because I watched the movies 15 years ago, so I roughly remember her and I know her. But who's this other guy, Gil-galad? Why, if I'm saying that right, and why should I care about him? That's what I'm worried about people falling into. Yeah, Grimdark, the Silmarillion reads more like a mythology. I like that. I do like the challenge aspect of it, but like, it's definitely, it makes it tough for the more casual reader. See, and that's another point. Vasily says, English is my second language, so the Silmarillion is really difficult for me. It's like, absolutely, that I totally empathize with that. Let's see here. Just shout out to the charity as we continue to move through our charity live stream here. We're at about $763 of 1,000 raised, so let's keep going there. Thanks so much for considering or for donating. Just definitely want to hit that mark. I'm planning to live stream for roughly another 2 hours, but I definitely want to hit that mark. See if we can't go over, see if we can't help some more people today. Alicia, do you play Lord of the Rings Rise to War? No. I probably should try it. I'll be I'm always trying to be honest with you guys, with everyone here. I do not play Lord of the Rings Rise to War. And I've seen the ads for it, and it's just not grabbed my attention. Even as a huge Tolkien fan, it's just not grabbed my attention. Maybe one day. I'm not saying it's a bad game, because again, I've never tried it. Just hasn't grabbed my attention. I should probably try it. Honestly, though, their advertisements just like annoy me sometimes. And also, I'm not a huge fan of mobile games at large, so I haven't seen enough difference with Rise to War to be like, yes, this is the exception, though. I've seen a couple exceptions. This just doesn't seem to be one, but who knows? Maybe I'll try it out. Astria, thanks so much for being here. Just put up some Christmas decorations, baked some cookies. Are there any Christmas-like holidays in Arda? Yeah, so that's awesome. Happy holidays. I do believe that the Yuletide is celebrated by hobbits. It's been a while since I made this video, but I want to say hobbits, potentially elves. Yuletide is the closest thing. So definitely hobbits celebrate for that. And, they're in the north, so they probably get some snow and everything as well. Canadian Fantasy Corner, I got to get going. See you guys around. Take care and best of luck to you all, especially you, Yoiston. Merry Christmas to all. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas. Thanks so much for being here, my friend. Oh, Alicia says it is really good. Play it. All right, yeah, I'll try to check it out here. Yeah, I'll try to check it out. I'm trying not to be too cynical or anything like that, but I'm like, it hasn't grabbed me, hasn't grabbed my attention too much. But Turin, do you think Mithros with his left hand settings would win against Fingolfin in one-on-one combat? Absolutely not. I think Fingolfin would crush him. And I mean, because Mithros even says it himself, you're the eldest of the House of Finwë among us, and not the least wise. But also, my man dueled Morgoth and actually hurt him. Poor Mithros, like with having to relearn how to fight with his left hand, and I don't think so. But Marion Baggins, the Fellowship left Rivendell at Christmas. Yeah, so that is true. December 25th is when they left Rivendell, but there's no like Christmas in Middle Earth. That's more like a meta book. I guess occurrence. I think Tolkien definitely meant for that to be the case, for that to be the date, for that to happen. But I don't think it meant anything to the characters as much as it means to us in real life. Vasily, thank you so much for the donation. It means a lot. David Francis, I love the eye. Brightens up our winter. Let's see. Julian Martinez says, "What is the void like?" It's actually it's a really good question. So when Morgoth, because if you look at the implications, Morgoth, before Arda was even created, he went into the void, into the nothingness, and looked for the power that sustained and created life, and he couldn't find it. Because it was with Eru, and it was with Arda. It was with Ea. And so that he was cast back there after the first age, or at the end of the first age, he was cast back into the void where there was nothingness, and he knew it. It's an interesting thing, but I would say it's just generally nothingness. Let's see. Molegrip 38, Hanburi Han versus Barlaman Butterbur. Who would win? Dude, I gotta go with Hanburi Han, because they poisoned. I'm pretty sure the Druidine poisoned their arrows and everything like that. Versus Barlaman, he couldn't even send a letter, so that's kind of rough. Nah, he does a lot. He works hard. My man works hard. Alicia, other than Sauron and Saruman, did any other Maiar die? And where did they go when they die? The Hall of Mandos, the Void. It's a good question. Let me think. Melion, she just went west. She's fine. The Blue Wizards might have died. We're not sure. Balrogs died. I think they probably all went to the Void because they were all evilly aligned. I can't... Let me know in the live chat, everyone, but is there a Maya who served good who died? I might be missing. A good Maya who died. Huh. Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, Sauron and Saruman's soul were condemned to wander. There's also, though, the illusion that it's like he joined his master, Sauron joined his master. So it's definitely not explicitly said where they exactly ended up, but yeah. Let's see here. Ranger of the North, thanks for being here. Yeah. Happy holidays. Let me send out another message here to Twitter and to the community and everything as we are getting closer to our goal. Let me see. We're at almost 800. So let me go ahead and link our live stream here. You all get to listen to me type. Sorry, just be 1 second as I just try to pull in more people for our charity live stream here. That's good. That's a good tweet right there. Oh, didn't copy the whole thing. Yeah, so we're almost there. Another 200 before we hit the goal. Thanks for everybody who's donated and everybody who's going to donate. Oh, awesome. Anonymous, thank you so much. That's a very generous donation. Thank you very much. I've got to send out one more message here to our community on YouTube. Ooh, I should probably send it to the Discord, too. So, for anyone who doesn't know, we have a Discord for the channel, but it's Patreon exclusive. That's just the best way to keep it moderated. So, if you're interested in that or our podcast, please check out our Patreon. Thanks to all of our patrons. Really, all the support means the world to me. Almost to the goal. There we go. I'm sure somebody's talked about it in the Men of the West Discord, but let's see. Yeah, I'll just send out a message to everyone. Yeah, thank you so much for the donations, everyone. Noctis, thank you so much. Every little bit means a lot. And not another anonymous. All right, there we go. I sent out things. All right, let's see here. Turin Tarambar, if you would be ranking the Maiar, what would your top 5 list look like? All right, so don't judge me if there's some evil characters on here. They make good villains, so what can I say? But Gandalf is my favorite Maya. He has to be. I was watching a Gandalf video, made me tear up before I started the live stream. Really good. Gandalf, and then Sauron, and then Melion's got to be on there, but probably Saruman, and then so Gandalf, Sauron, Saruman, Melion, and then I love Eonwë, though we don't get much about him. I love his Radagast is awesome too, but I love Eonwë's vibe. Just, you know, he's a great warrior and the herald of Manwë, and led the attack against Morgoth during the War of Wrath. So I'd probably put him up there as my 5th. Grimdark, thanks for helping us out. Anonymous, thank you so much. That's a very generous donation. Thank you very much. We're getting closer, everyone. We're getting there. That's awesome. Brandon, thank you so much. Really means a lot. Let's see here. Nugget Man, what is your recommended reading order of Tolkien's Legendarium? Great question. Tom Bombadil, thanks for being here. Yoy Boy is doing great today. Recommended reading order. I would say kind of like least complicated to most complicated. So Hobbit, The Lord of the Rings, The Silmarillion, The Unfinished Tales, The Children of Hurin, and then the History of Middle-earth saga. So the 12-book saga after the Children of Hurin. Actually, maybe before that, you could also do Fall of Gondolin, Tale of Beren and Luthien, since you read Children of Hurin. But yeah, that would be it, I would say. Because then you're starting from like The Hobbit, which is super. It's really easy and quite like fun to read. Very, you know, it's not a big dedication. You know, I think Andy Serkis got through the whole Hobbit book in about 12 hours when he live streamed it for charity. I want to say last year, maybe 2 years ago. So yeah, that was start there, and then you work your way to like the Lost Tales, where you're talking about elf wine and all this stuff, and you don't even know what day it is. It's been 30 years since you started reading, and you're like, huh? Let's see. Yeah, Bungo Baggins. Unfinished Tales was really hard to read. So Lost Tales is a lot, in my opinion, it's a lot harder. Unfinished Tales is tough to read, but if you've got the Silmarillion and maybe Children of Hurin under your belt, but I'd just say as long as you've got the Silmarillion under your belt and the Lord of the Rings, it's tough to read the notes, but the commentary from Christopher Tolkien kind of makes it a little bit more easy to understand. But that's where you get like the War of the Elves and Sauron. It's where you get the Palantir, the Riding of the Nazgul. When they were searching for the ring, you get the loss of Isildur and Anduin. All of these great things. So it combines everything together. So hopefully that helps. Yeah. Theo, I remember hearing that there were 2 gates on either side of Arda. What's the deal with those? Great question. So I'm gonna, just to make sure I get all this right, Tolkien Gateway. Shout out to them. I really like using Tolkien Gateway to find the sources and then go look at the sources as well within the books, within the PDFs or the just normal reading itself. I have PDFs of most of the books just to make research easier, but Tolkien Gateway is always a great place to start. So I think the Doors of Night, and I want to say the Doors of Day, the Door of Night, and so the Door of Night was a portal in the distant uttermost west that leads to heaven and Orthe Void. All right, definitely yeah. Okay, Gates of the Morning is what the other one's called. Situated somewhere in the east of the world. It said that Númenorian mariners from their high prows glimpsed the gates of morning during their travels through the seas, but nothing further is known of these gates. So don't have much, but I like the, you know, morning, night, everything like that. Goldberry's Magic Muffins, love the name. Thank you so much for the donation. Really goes a long way. Council of Gondor, who do you prefer? Glorfindel, Ecthelion, or Fingelfin? Oh, hit me with a hard question here. Stuff Man, thanks for the donation. Of these characters, if we had a little more on Glorfindel, well, not a Balrog though to save. It's definitely between Glorfindel and Fingelfin. I'll probably have to go Glorfindel. I love that he shows back up. Yeah, no, the Angmar War. The Angmar War. I love the Angmar War and Arnor, and that Glorfindel fights in that. I would say Glorfindel. But kind of solely because he just has more going on in the narrative than the other two. But I love those other two as well. We just don't get much on Ecthelion. And Fingelfin could have had more kind of descriptions of his journey through the Helcaraxe, all of that. Let's see here. Odin, hello, first time watching your live stream. Welcome, thanks for being here. Lord of the Rings has been a part of my childhood and have been subbed for a while. Love the lore you put out. Really enjoy all the stories. Thank you so much. Thanks for being here. I'm glad my videos can help you there. Let's see here. Bungo Baggins, why is it that Tolkien put such small detail into the War of Wrath, but in the chapter of the 5th battle, he goes into so much more detail on General War? I'd have loved to see the War of Wrath. I totally agree, Bungo, and again, go back to the idea that he wasn't finished with the Silmarillion. The War of Wrath definitely shows that he was not anywhere close to where he probably wanted to be with the Silmarillion. Because I agree, narratively speaking, you have this whole build-up to the fall and defeat of Morgoth, but it happens in like a paragraph. It's definitely kind of like a, aw. Lord Trinan, thank you so much for the donation to the charity. It means a lot. We're getting close, everyone. We're getting close to the goal. And let's keep it going. Let's see how well we can do today. I'll still be here for a little less than 2 hours, so. David Gregor, I was wondering, how are the ring wraiths so powerful when they don't even have the rings of power? Hope I remember them correctly. Were those 9 rings so powerful to influence them over distance? So it's a great question. There's a debate there whether or not they carried their rings for that reason that you mentioned here. It's like, how did they remain deathless if they weren't wearing their rings? But then it's also said, I believe in the Council of Elrond chapter, where it's like Sauron keeps the 9 in Barad-dûr. So there's debate there. But I would say these men were already innately strong, especially the 3 Númenóreans, one of which was the Witch King, presumably, because he was the most powerful. So they were innately powerful, and then the rings just augmented their strengths. And then also the world weakened around them. I would say in the Second Age, when they first came to be, they were a lot weaker. Gil-galad probably could have bested the Witch King in single combat, but could Elrond have bested the Witch King? Probably not. In like the late Third Age? Probably not. It's a good question. I'm not quite sure I have an answer, but yeah, they were innately powerful anyway. The rings probably augmented that strength, and they kind of, Sauron's power flowed through them as well. Jay says, can I donate somehow with PayPal? So this is my first time using the YouTube charity tools. I'm not sure. I want to say possibly. I'm sorry. I wish I had more of the answers with this. But yeah, if you go through it, it might show you different ways that you can donate. Thanks so much for just considering. It means a lot. Urias Tosh asks, would you accept a Ring of Power? So knowing what I know, it depends. Knowing what I know about the Rings of Power, the only 3 that I would accept to keep them and to keep them safe are the Elven Rings, of course. But if I, without knowing what I know, was in Middle-earth, I think I would be as weak as any other man subjected to them, right? So, if I'm in the Second Age and I'm this great Numenorian warrior, and this guy's, you know, he comes up to me in this fair guise as Anatar or whatever else, got this for you. You know, you're powerful, so let's keep that going. Like, it would be hard to say no, even if you, especially if you don't know what those rings are gonna do. So yeah, gold berries, magic muffins. Conceptually, I wouldn't accept the ring, but honestly, if someone from Middle Earth handed me one, I'd cave. Yeah, I mean, come on, like Gandalf's like, take this. It'd be hard to be like, no, Gandalf, no. Council of Gondor, any friendly advice to another Tolkien YouTuber, do's and don'ts? So any I'll start with just any advice that I give to any YouTuber, and then I'll get a little more specific into the Tolkien stuff. So any advice for any YouTuber is be consistent and be passionate. So if you lack one of those things, it becomes very clear. It's very clear to everybody watching it. It's clear to you. It's clear to everybody involved in the process of making a video. But also, if you're not consistent, it's like, wow, right, that was the most passionate video I've ever seen, but it was last posted 6 years ago. I don't know if they're ever coming back, probably not. And so I'm going to move on, and I'm not going to subscribe. So you have to be consistent. I like my once a week schedule with a couple special things and events and videos, live streams, podcasts thrown in like this. But once a week, you know, you can always count on a Sunday video. So consistency and passion are key just with any sort of YouTube. And so going into a little bit more what we do here with Tolkien, I would say it's easy to get lost in the weeds of Tolkien content and just Tolkien, because there's so much good, deep lore. It's easy to be like, I'm going to make an hour-and-a-half podcast about the Druidine. But if you, and I guess this applies to any content, but if you are the watcher, is that something you'd want to watch? Make the content that you would want to watch, even if you weren't the one making it. And that's what I always ask myself. It's like, would I want to watch this? If I didn't have Men of the West channel, but I was a subscriber, would I want to watch a video on Glorfindel's history? Absolutely, I would. So that's kind of the rule that I play by, is it's like, oh, would this be interesting to me if this was somebody else's channel and I was a viewer? So be a fan of your own content, but don't get lost in the weeds. So you can make that hour-and-a-half Druidine video, but also supplement it with a 10-minute video on something that's still interesting to you, but also is more well-known. Go back and forth between the more well-known things and the less known things, if that makes sense. Don't spend all your time in the lost tales unless that's really what you want to do. But from that point, a lot of people don't know the lost tales, so they probably won't subscribe, and you'll get a lot less views. But if you go back and forth, supplement it with like, okay, I'm going to do a video on Faramir. I'm going to do a podcast on Faramir, and then I'm going to do a podcast on Fingon and his kingdom of Hithlum. It's a good back and forth. So I hope that helps. And honestly, I hope that helps anybody who's wanting to become a YouTuber. I've got the classic YouTube story of like, I never thought this was going to work out for me. I never thought that I would become a YouTuber, and that, you know, I just made content that I liked. And so that was, and I made it consistently, and it was something that I would want to watch. And so it really worked out, and I'm very, very fortunate. So let's see here. Julian Martinez. Let me see. Okay. Okay, Nugget Man. If you could travel anywhere in Middle-earth, where would it be and why? Credit to Council of Gondor. Yeah, in Council of Gondor for sure. I'm glad that advice can help. Mole Group, I could do 3 hours on Queen Beruthiel, no sweat. Absolutely. And so it's so fun and easy to do things like that. Rowan and I will go on like 30 minutes on our podcasts about just like the most obscure and niche content or topic, and it's like, man, I'm glad this is Patreon only. Like, and I hope this is what my patrons want, because I have no, you know, we just went off. Anyway, back to the question. If I could travel anywhere in Middle-earth, where would it be and why? I'd want to see Numenos. I know it's hardly mentioned, but I'd want to see Numenos. Is that the first place I would go, though? if I could only go to one place, it'd probably be just Minas Tirith, just to see it, just to experience the winds and the silver trumpets, the white tree, banners flapping in the winds, the trebuchets ready to defend the castle. I'd probably go Minas Tirith. Numinos would be fun, but it'd be sad too. It's like, oh man, this city is destroyed. TJ, thanks so much for the donation. Means a lot. Let's see. Getting closer. We're getting closer. 925 out of 1,000. We're getting there. Keep it up, everybody. This is great. I gave my donation before I started, so yeah, we're all really in this together. Thanks so much for being here. Ooh, Nugget Man, yours would be Gondolin. That's a great choice. That's a good choice. I'd still say Minas Tirith. But yeah. Uthio99, who is your favorite Lord of the Rings character and why? He's not just my favorite Lord of the Rings character, but my favorite character in all of fantasy or fiction or any sort of media. Aragorn Elisar. Aragorn Telcontar, Strider. He's my favorite. He's, you know, from a young age and everything. Like, when I was a kid, right, Legolas was the guy, right? Legolas is like, man, I wish I could do a backflip on a mummock and be an elf and all that. But as you get a little older, it's like, Aragorn is the man, the ideal man to strive to be like. And so for me, that's always guided me in my actions, right? I always refer back to that kind of virtuous guide. Aragorn's not only a ranger and a fighter, but he's learned as well. He knows lore. He's wise and he's caring and he's compassionate. And that for me is such a good role model. So yeah, I would say both the books and the movies. He's my favorite. So, but going from that to Council of Gondor's question here, which non-canon character is the worst, Alfred or Tauriel, or maybe someone else? Tauriel could have been done much better if there wasn't the love interest. I think there was definitely room for that kind of character. Because so I grew up playing the Hobbit video game, and there was a female elf that helped you throughout the game, I believe. And I believe she's from Mirkwood. Maybe she's from Rivendell, but I think she's from Mirkwood. And she actually worked really well in the story. I don't see why that wouldn't work. But the love interest part doesn't work. However, Alfred... I'm sure both the actor of Alfred and Tauriel are, I'm sure they're great people. It's just the characters are... I'd probably say Alfred. Alfred, yeah. He really takes something away from the experience. But again, no disrespect to the actor or the writer or anything like that. It just didn't work. Yeah, turn to Rambar and a healer too. Aragorn, and a healer too. It's such a good role model and archetype, especially for men of today. I think, and Aragorn, if we had, billions of Aragorns running around the world, it would be a good place. It'd be a really good place, I think. So, Moira, thanks for showing up. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it. Kyle Rasman says, if Ringgil was found, who do you think should wield it in the War of the Ring? And would Sauron be worried that that weapon is at work against slaying evil? Absolutely. I think if it was found... Elrond didn't do much fighting. He would have a claim to it because he's a descendant of Fingolfin. But I'd probably say Elrond, maybe one of his sons, if it really wanted to see battle and combat. Yeah, Marion Baggins, Stephen Colbert said that is the ideal male role model. I completely agree. And I think it's funny, as you get older as a man, as a male, like, you look at Boromir also, and you're like, oh, I relate to you a lot more than I thought I would as a kid. Boromir is such a good character. Same with Turin. It's like, man, I see the pitfalls that they fell into during their character arcs, and I gotta be careful not to fall into similar things. Keep the virtue, but try to overcome the vice, if that makes sense. So, but Aragorn, yeah, Aragorn's awesome. There's one moment where I'm always going back and forth on like how I feel about that Aragorn moment. It's the one where he's outside of Edoras, with Anduril, and he's ready. He's so upset. He's ready to fight everybody in Edoras. if somebody touches Anduril or draws Anduril. It's like, oh man, I'm always not sure. It's like he's been running for a couple days, so he's probably tired, and he's also, yeah, it's a sword and it's a legacy he's protecting, but at the same time, it's just chill, Aragorn. It's okay. They're on your side, buddy. But it also shows he's human, so that's like that's the most viceful, I guess, Aragorn moment. But Urias, I prefer Gimli as a male role model. I don't blame you. That's a good role model. Oh, that's awesome. If somebody says Alfred is a role model, that's where we'll have maybe a couple issues, but Nugget Man, which of the 3 Lord of the Rings books are your favorite? Mine is Return of the King. Really what mood I'm in, and I kind of, I always say the answer of the cop-out answer of they're all one book, so you can't. It really depends on what mood I'm in. If I'm in the mood for something super truly epic and kind of like heartfelt and all that, Return of the King. If I'm in the mood for more of an adventure tale, then either Fellowship or Two Towers. World building, Fellowship of the Ring, I would say, for the world building. So it really depends on what mood I'm in. They're all so good for different reasons. I always say if I have to say one, just because I've never felt that way about cinema or a book before, if I have to say one book, Return of the King. If I have to say one movie, it's Return of the King. So Moira, which music do you like best? Elves, dwarves, or hobbits? Oh. I assume you mean like the music, not that necessarily they play, but that they play plus inspire, like the Howard Shore music around these races. I think it depends on my mood. Again, it depends on my mood, but overall I think I'd say Elvish. There's just so much beauty and sorrow and care there, so Julie Bryan, why did Elwing desert her sons? It's a good question. It's a sad question. I feel like she may have already thought they were either captured or dead, and she knew that the Silmaril couldn't get into the hands of the Sons of Feanor. Because there was a power about it, so she just decided, I'm going to give it and myself to the sea. My kids are probably beyond my reach anyway. Probably despaired, but... Marion Baggins, who is the best bro in Arda? Samwise, Aragorn, Gimli, Finrod, etc. I would say if you're just the average person in Middle-earth, gotta be Finrod, right? Finrod will befriend you no matter what, but yeah, I have to go with Finrod. If you're obviously a hobbit, then probably Sam, but yeah, Finrod, no matter who you are, Finrod will be your friend. Sorry, one second. Let's see. Which Eric says, which story is your favorite out of all of Tolkien's works? Depends on my mood. But no, I mean, so for your classic fantasy epic, Lord of the Rings, for your childhood adventure, for your nostalgia, The Hobbit, maybe Fellowship. For a more dark and gritty tale of a fallen tragic hero, Turin Turambar. For something a little more uplifting and hopeful. It's funny, but I kind of say the fall of... I mean, it's funny because it's sad, the fall of Gondolin. Fall of Gondolin is tragic in the end, but I love Tur coming through Neverest, overcoming the obstacles, overcoming the odds. Love story, Beren and Luthien. So good. So Uthio99, was it ever mentioned how many elves showed up to help Rohan fight at Helm's Deep? So in the movie, I want to say it's probably like 200. maybe more. But obviously in the books that never happened. It was just men, men plus one elf and one dwarf. So Daniel, hello from Israel. Hello from the United States. Thanks for being here. For some reason, Turin, I thought you said the best children's book is Children of Hurin. I just like mixed up the word. I was like, wait, no. Do not read this to your child. Not yet. They're not ready yet. Let's see. David Gregor, okay, unfortunately I have to go. Enjoy the stream. Merry Christmas, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Let's see. Get some water. Afternoon from Dallas, Texas. Good afternoon from Colorado. What about Haldir? What's his name that dies at Helm's Deep? Yeah, that's Haldir. He does not die at Helm's Deep in the books. We don't know what really becomes of him. Alicia, the scene I want to see brought to the screens more than anything is when Fingolfin marches into Middle-earth for the first time. Absolutely. That would be so awesome. There's so many Silmarillion like moments that I want to see. Tor coming to Gondolin. Turin fighting Glaurung, like killing Glaurung. The Nirnaeth Arnoidiad when all the elves from Gondolin show up that morning and everybody's crying out in Elvish. That's awesome. Yeah. Haldir is just a dude in the books. That's the best way to put it. He's just a guy. Hello from the Cayman Islands. Oh, awesome. That's awesome. We're getting people from all over. Let's see. So, any thoughts on upcoming Amazon Prime Second Age series? I was saying a little earlier in the stream, it's like, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I wish we had more about it. I wish their advertising and marketing was a little bit more wideswept, and I mean, we're less than a year out, so we're about 9 months out. I do wish we had more, but that's okay. Yeah, Moira Mahan, can someone please remind me when Lord of the Rings TV series comes out? It's going to be September 2nd, I believe, 2022. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Let's see where we're at with our... Yeah, 951 of 1,000. We're almost there, everyone. We're almost there. Thank you so much for the donations. Let's keep it up. Real fast, I'll thank my Valar tier patrons after I get some water. Thanks to Adrian De la Torre, Chris Ortner, Kyle Wetzel, Peter Sheppard, Jonathan Putnam, Mark Kralick, Blair Scouten, Merten, John Hume, Jennifer Wood, Sam McBee, Matt Sibbach, QuantumCatalyst, Elizabeth Calvert, Maz Gibs, Ben Gardner, Condar, Rhys Jenkins, Ádám Petrlik, Khuzan, and Brandon Glidden. Thank you so much. Thanks to all of our patrons, all of our Valar tier patrons. Grimdark, thanks for moderating again. This is awesome. I think we'll keep going for a little less than an hour and a half. I'm trying to make it to about 5 p.m. Eastern Standard, so one of my longer streams, but I definitely want to hit that goal. So, oh, Alicia, what do you think of the upcoming War of the Rohirrim anime film? I'm excited. I've actually got really high hopes for that. And it's something Royan and I talk about quite a bit. It's interesting that. I want to see Eregion, I want to see Valinor, I want to see all these places from Second Age and from before, from the Elder Days. But it's interesting that they jumped there when they might not have all the rights or whatever, versus earlier in the Third Age, from the appendices, when they do have more of the rights. Maybe the only thing they'd have to worry about is the Unfinished Tales, same with, the War of the Rohirrim anime. They might have to get some things from the Unfinished Tales, I'm not sure, but most things should be in the appendices for that, if I'm not mistaken. I'm super excited, and I'm excited to see what kind of style of anime and all that kind of, all of those factors that they put in there, so Yeah, I'm excited. I'll make more videos as we get closer to it. DJ M61, thank you so much for the donation. Means a lot. We're getting closer, everybody. We're getting closer. Council of Gondor, will you play the upcoming Gollum game? Absolutely. Again, I was going to make a video on the trailer when the trailer dropped last week. But the trailer did nothing for me, personally. It really didn't tell me much. And I'm still roughly feeling the same about it and have little to say about it as I did 2 weeks ago. So, Mysterious Stranger, thanks so much. Moira, I wouldn't mind waiting a couple extra days so the show can come out on September 22nd. I agree. I'm curious to see why they didn't do Hobbit Ave next year. Oh, Raffi, hey, thanks for being here. And thanks, Raffi, thanks for the work on the logo and everything like that. The new thumbnails, the intro animation. So, says you can't donate money from Finland. Kind of sad. Is there another way, maybe? I'm not sure. Unfortunately, I don't know how YouTube does their... I'm still new to how they do their charity mechanics. Yeah, I'm not sure. Unfortunately. I love the part where Alicia says, I love the part where Gollum dumps the lava on the orcs. Yeah, I mean, it tells us what kind of game it'll be, at least. It'll be a stealth adventure game like that, but curious why they chose... It'll be, hopefully, like, we can see into the psychology of Gollum, maybe make choices as either Smeagol or Gollum. That would be cool. But I'm curious as to why they chose to make a video game on Gollum versus a different character, and why they chose to make another video game set in Mordor instead of somewhere else in Middle-earth. So... Oh, really? Council of Gondor. Only US, UK, and Canada, I think. Interesting. Because I wondered why people didn't... Some other friends of mine, when they have done charity live streams, they've used a different method of it. A different website or something. So that must be why. Must be international. Well, I'm sure I'll do another charity live stream in the future, and I'll have to look more into it then. Maybe I'll use another program for it. Grimdark, we don't talk about Joker's fan art piece. That was that was something else. my beard, I like how he just took MS Paint and just drew that. Alexandra, greetings from Romania. Greetings from the US. My favorite is Melian, and I wish they could bring to life all of the Valaquenta. Completely, 100% agree. I wish they could bring to life the Valaquenta. I would love to see Melian. I think something, too, to remember with the first stage, that would be hard, is casting. Who would they cast as Luthien? You know, who would they cast as Melian? Or Melian? Astari donated 30. I think that... Hey, Astari, thank you so much. You just brought us over our goal. Guys, we've raised, everyone, we've raised over $1,000 for the International Rescue Committee. Thank you so much. This is such an honor. This is great. This is great. We're really making a difference today. We're making a difference as I talk about Tolkien, or Tolkas's weightlifting and and all that. Yeah. So, I wanted to talk about this. This was way earlier in the stream, but I totally spaced out and forgot to mention it. My thoughts on Shadow of War, Shadow of Mordor. So since Gollum is coming, M. Adams, thank you so much for the donation. Since Gollum is coming out and another Mordor game is coming out, it is interesting to me that, of all the settings in Middle-earth, developers keep choosing to make games set in Mordor, which in my mind is one of the least interesting settings. I like Mordor for what it does for the story, but even reading it, it's so bleak and so cold and hot next to the volcano, and it's just we keep getting video games there. So I don't know. I enjoy Shadow of Mordor and War for games, for what they are, but the lore, man, the lore gets irritating to me very fast sometimes. Goldberry's Magic Muffins. Is there anyone on Earth beautiful enough to play the Great Luthien? That's always been my question. Who would you cast as Baron and Luthien, and especially Luthien? That would be really difficult. Really difficult. So. See, yeah, Urias. I demand a game be based in Rune. That would be awesome to see the East, to see the South, to see Harad, to see Khand. And I can't wait for Lord of the Rings Online to go there eventually. Yeah, we've never really seen those places, so a little bit of like Udun or Udun, but Nirn. We've seen a little bit of Nirn in Shadow of War, which was different, but yeah. TJ says probably because of the dark, mysterious atmosphere the place has. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be like all throughout a lot of the game, you know. And this is what Shadow of War does. It takes you further into the east to get you out of that environment sometimes, or further to the south. And also, there are multiple places with that besides Mordor. I'd love an Angmar game, like an RPG where you're Arvidwi, the last king of Arthedain, and you're fighting for your life against the Witch King, kind of like what Battle for Middle-earth 2 has. Minas Morgul, right? You could that's another environment that's kind of like dark and kind of more gritty. Isengard. And then if they were going other ages, of course, right, you have Angband and all these places, but yeah. James Spawn, Luthien, that's easy, my wife. That's the right answer right there. That's what every married man should say. That's awesome, though. Oh, yeah, Brandon Lade. I hope I didn't pronounce your name wrong. I'd love a game about the Blue Wizards and the Lands of the East. That's awesome. Yeah, that'd be a great one. Council of Gondor, have you heard about the Lord of the Rings mod, Kingdoms of Arda? I've heard about it. I can't remember what it's for. Kingdoms of Arda, is that... Oh, Mountain Blade. Yes. Wait, I think actually this is... No, I've played this before. I've played this one. I couldn't remember what it was called, but yeah. No, I've played this one before. I remember my campaign took so long, and because I was just trying to be like Rohan, you know, making alliances and taking over like the evil parts of Middle-earth. My game lasted hundreds of years in game, and I think I lost at the end. It was crazy hard. The last time I played it was like a year and a half ago, and I want to say I was like the forces of Eriador, the Free Peoples, and then all of a sudden Sauron showed up on the battlefield and decimated my winning force. And I was like, what? Nugget Man says, dude, imagine a game taking place in Beleriand where you start in the Nirnaeth or Noitiad and go all the way to the War of Wrath. And you can pick multiple paths. So you can be either a man, elf, or dwarf. That would be sweet. I've always wanted something like that. Even like a Dark Souls-esque game of where you're playing as Tor. Because when you go to Nevrast and like it reminds me of that first starting area with like the NPCs in Dark Souls 2, where you're like, you know, it's all shiny, you're next to the ocean, but everything is kind of sad and kind of like a very lonesome journey. A Tor Dark Souls-esque kind of game. I would love that. I would love a Bethesda Skyrim-esque game for just for the greater part of the first age. That would be awesome. Anonymous, thank you so much for your donation. Would I rather have the One Ring, Arkenstone, or the 3 Silmarils? Oh man. Which would get me the least killed, I think is the good question. You know? I'd honestly probably not want to have any of them, because people would come looking for those. The One Ring would corrupt me completely. It would, you know, it would win. The Arkenstone is probably the most neutral. But the 3 Silmarils would be awesome to have just hanging above your PC. It's just like, wow, look at those. I don't know what I would do with any of them. The Silmarillion nerd in me probably says the 3 Silmarils, and then I'd give one to Royan, and like one to like my future wife, and then have one for myself and have an epic adventure. But I would get destroyed, definitely. And those people that I named would also have a dangerous life in front of them. So, but go Baggins, thank you so much for being here. It has been fun. Have a great day. Anonymous, thank you so much for the donation. Turin wants the one ring. Dude, I mean, imagine Turin getting the one ring. Like, he's probably the last person who needs that. Nerd of the Rings. Hey, Matt. Thanks for being here, buddy. And thanks for the donation, man. That really means the world to me, man. Everybody, I'm sure you subscribed. Check out Nerd of the Rings. Check out Matt's content. Biggest Tolkien YouTuber on this platform. So definitely subscribe and check him out. So he's good man. Stuff man, have you ever played Lord of the Rings Conquest? Yes, I have. I grew up playing that game, and I played it earlier this year, at like the beginning of this year. It's so broken. It's so fun, but it's so broken. I'd love it. Maybe one day I'll do a stream of it, especially if I can play multiplayer. Hopefully not have a repeat of the problems of the last live stream with my patrons that just nothing worked for me, but hopefully I'd love to play that game with patrons, with Royan at some point. Tolkien tuber, I like it. Nugget Man, the real question is, do you prefer Turin to Rambar? Yeah, much love, Matt. Thank you so much. Thanks for being here. Real question is, do you prefer Turin to Rambar or Tur? I hate to not pick Turin, but Tur also met Olmo, my favorite Vala, so it goes to Tur for me. Depends on what we're... I think as a character, like, as an interesting character, Turin is the most compelling of the two, but Tur, I would trust him more, and I would want his story. If I had to live through either story, definitely Tur's story, not Turin's. My dog just got up from her nap, so if that's what you're hearing in the background. Moira, what about a video game about the very beginning with Eru creating the Valar and creating Middle-earth? It would be fun. It'd be tough to kind of conceptualize that. I'm not sure which... You'd have to play a Vala, or I guess a Maya. Maybe you play Gandalf from the beginning. Like, you play Aloran as, like from the beginning of... Yeah. Grimdark, I do dare you to stream the Lord of the Rings NES game, SNES game RPG. It's absolutely the worst legendary game I've played. Have you played Aragorn's Quest? Again, I haven't really played Aragorn's Quest, but I've seen a friend this year play part of it, and it looked awful. Like, I don't know, it looked like it needed a lot of work. Oh, absolutely. Urias Tosh, if I'm going into battle, I want Prince Imrahil of Dol Amroth riding shotgun. Totally. See, no, Mulgrip. Young Aragorn's military adventures in Gondor and Rohan, good basis for a game. Totally agree. Stuff, man. A video about the Valar creating Arda would just be The Sims, Lord of the Rings edition. Yeah, you're right. You're right. A video game about the Valar creating... Yeah. Yeah. Let's see here. We are at 1,040 of 1,000 raised. Thank you guys so much. I'll be on for about another hour. We'll keep streaming. We'll see how much more we can get, how much more we can do, but we have achieved our goal. Thank you all so much. This really means the world to me. Let me see. Once more, we'll be right back. The problem of streaming is you always have to keep hydrated because you're constantly talking. So I'll be right back. I'm going to hit the bathroom once more, and I'll be back in 1 minute. Please don't go anywhere. Alrighty, we're back. And Royan Crowshield, thank you so much for the donation, buddy. You caught me when I was in the bathroom, but thanks for the donation in the meantime. Means a lot. Yeah, thank you guys all so much for being here. This is really quite amazing. Yeah, we're at 1,060 now. Royan, thanks for the offer. The Silmaril I'd pass, though. I don't need any Sons of Fëanor hunting me down. That's what I'm saying. It's like a death sentence to get either the One Ring or the Arkenstone or any of the Silmarils. It's a death sentence. But the best, to be fair, if you got the One Ring, that's the best chance you have at surviving and like fighting back. But like Aragorn says, they'll never stop hunting you. Council of Gondor, which member of the Fellowship would you rather be friends with? I'd pick Gandalf the Grey. Oh yeah, I mean, Aragorn would be a great friend. Dude, Pippin though? Pippin would be something else. Like, I feel like at maybe different stages of your life, you'd choose different Fellowship members to be friends with. I'm in my early 20s right now. I'm 22, almost 23. So maybe Pippin. Bar hopping with Pippin. That could be fun. That could be fun. Maybe it's just how Billy Boyd plays him, my good friend. But yeah, it was such an honor interviewing Billy Boyd and Dominic Monaghan. If you guys haven't seen it, that interview's I did that back in June of this year. So I say good friends. I talked to them once for 45 minutes, but they're amazing people, just as cool as you would expect. But I mean, I don't know. As a friend, it depends on my mood overall. Gandalf would be a great mentor, though, just to have. Anaros Larson asks, how long will the donation be up from? I think I have it set. And again, this is my first time doing it, so maybe I'll change it, do different things in the future. I believe we have 10 hours left until the donation closes. But if you guys can't donate today, or if y'all... Wow, that was Southern, y'all. If you all want to donate at some other point, it's the International Rescue Committee, and goes to helping people in need, refugees, people fighting against starvation, humanitarian crises all around the world. So just go ahead and donate there if this closes, but still equally means the world to me if you do. I also... I forgot to put this in my... Oh, no, it's right there. I just haven't read it yet. I want to shout out Emily Austin Design on Etsy for letting us use her Winter Hobbiton scene for the thumbnail of this live stream. A link to her work is in the description below. Oh, Grimdark Elven Loremaster. I don't think I've ever gotten this question before, but yes. So, Grimdark says, has a fan ever gifted you something before? Actually, a couple. Downstairs in my house right now, I have a like a wooden plaque sent to me from a fan's friend in Scotland who does wood burnings, and it's for the Green Dragon. It's like got a wood burning in it of like the Green Dragon, and you can drink your fancy ales, you can drink them by the flagon, but the only brew for the brave and true comes from the Green Dragon. That's etched on there in like a burning. That was awesome. I've done a couple years ago. I did, I guess, a sponsorship, but you know, it was with somebody who I do believe watched the channel. He makes Silmarillion jewelry. That was awesome. I'm trying to think of others. It's some of it's actually been through sponsorships, but the one that of like that a fan made, it was definitely that burning, that plaque there. That was awesome. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I don't think I've gotten many others besides. I worked with Loot Crate, got some really amazing stuff from them. That was really kind of them. Lord of Maps, I worked with them and check them out. They make similar maps to what we use here on the channel. Check them out. This isn't sponsored or anything, but they sent me a couple maps to inspect, and those are just amazing. So again, some of these were more sponsorships, I guess, but definitely that Green Dragon sign. Oh, Alicia. So I saw you ask this question earlier. I meant to answer. Who do you think the messenger that came to Erebor was? Mouth of Sauron or Ringwraith or a different Dark Servant? So that happened in 3018, and I want to say since the Nazgul were looking for the ring, I want to say it was the Mouth of Sauron. Wouldn't have made as much sense for it to be... I know, like, the closest that the Nazgul were when they were looking for the ring was, like, the Vales of Anduin, but I think their missions were completely separate, so I want to say the Mouth of Sauron or somebody like him, a different Black Numenorian. Big MK, I think Feanor died a bit too early. It would have been more fitting if he died in the War of Wrath, in my opinion. So I respectfully disagree. I get totally what you mean, but I think Feanor dying at the beginning is so fitting. He's the guy that was like, it's up to us, you know, we have to go defeat the Dark Lord, have our kingdoms, we can do this, right? Nothing will stand in our way, not even Morgoth himself. And then he immediately dies. He immediately freaking dies. Like, I mean, I say immediately, he survived a little bit in Middle-earth, but pretty much immediately dies in Middle-earth. And everybody's lost without him. They're like, wait, why did we follow him here? I think that question goes through their minds. And so then the kingship passes to Fingolfin. After his death, it passes to Fingon. After his death, it passes to Torgon. And after Torgon's death, it passes to Gil-galad. And I like that progression. If Feanor survived throughout the whole First Age, he would have been the sole king the entire time. But I like that it faded from the powerful to the less powerful elves. Still great, right? Gil-galad was still a great elf, but his power was nothing compared to Fingolfin's. Grimdark, yeah, Feanor's death definitely sets the tone for the rest of the Quenta Silmarillion. Totally agree. Yeah, again, it's the guy that's like, you can trust me. I've got this all figured out. You can follow me. And then immediately dies. He's the raid leader who's so cocky and arrogant and then just dies and then quits the game. It's like, dude, we were here because of you. We're... What? Council of Gondor, which Dwarf King is your favorite? I love the story of Durin the First. Him wandering, finding Khalid-Zarum. I'd probably say Durin the First. Yeah, that also sets the stage for just the dwarves to come. Yeah, Durin the First. I wish we had more on all the Durins, but I did make a video on all of them a while back, if you want to check that out. Amanda, is Middle-earth supposed to be as big as Europe? I think so. Like, roughly speaking, yeah. It's definitely a Eurocentric story. You know, and that gets into the conversation of, like, you know, the whole racial topic that, you know, in today's age kind of surrounds the Tolkien thing. My thing is, like, my response to that is, like, well, it's a medieval European setting, so... Yeah, I mean, there's not a ton of diversity there. So yeah, I think it is very Europe kind of centered, you know? So I think as you get... I've seen maps that depict Harad as more like of an... If you zoom out from Harad, it looks more like Africa. That's like, oh, interesting. Okay. James Spahn, did you just compare Feanor to Leroy Jenkins? Yeah. He did pull a Leroy Jenkins. He, like, ran into battle, got not just himself killed, but, like, he kind of screwed up. Sorry, on the other hand, Gil-galad ruled for almost 3,500 years, far longer than any High King of the Noldor. Absolutely. Totally true. Totally true. So, I would say Gil-galad's probably my favorite king of the Noldor for that reason, like all the things that he went through, and that he was one of the last reminders of the Elder Days, but, yeah. Big MK. Feanor, trust me, boys, I got this. Last active 8,000 years ago. 100%! Well, I don't know. It's a crazy moment in the Silmarillion, but, like, when he's dying, he looks at Thangorodrim and he's like, oh, we can't take that. But he doesn't say it. He doesn't say, go back, find help. We won't be able to take Morgoth down. He doesn't say that to his kids. He just dies. It's like, that would have been helpful information. It's like, he had this revelation. It's like, oh, no power of the Noldor will be able to bring that down, the Thangorodrim. Doesn't say that, though. He doesn't tell anybody about that. He just dies. TJ, he's the guy there screaming about DPS checking wall before being the first one to be dead, and he doesn't move out of the fire. 100%. He's such a bad raid leader, Feanor. Council of Gondor. Have you read Beowulf, The Wanderer, or any other works that inspired Tolkien? I need to. So I started reading Tolkien's version of Beowulf, and I got so lost because it's in verse, and so I got so lost so fast. I got to keep working and hammering away at that, but it'd be interesting. Maybe I have to go back before his version of Beowulf though, and read the one that inspired him. Amanda, I meant by size and landmass. So yeah, no. So Europe totally. Middle Earth might be a little bigger, I would say, than Europe, because you have all these mountain ranges and stuff. But it's certainly meant to look like it. Certainly meant to be shaped kind of like it. But I would say there's a little bit more in Middle Earth than Europe. Andrea asks, is there any elf character you wish Tolkien would have expanded more? Probably Gil-galad, because he has more relevancy to the rest of the story. Probably Gil-galad. Fingon, I think, is the High King of the Noldor that we get the least of, and I guess you say any elf character, but I'd probably still say with any elf character, Gil-galad, maybe Celebrimbor. It's a good question. Fingon we have like almost nothing about during his rule, but it's okay. I feel like with that character we don't need like a ton. So the green light bulb, why did Elrond not become High King of the Noldor? So it's a great question. I was thinking about it recently too, because Galadriel could have become High Queen of the Noldor equally. And honestly, I think it would have passed to her first because she was higher up in the family chain than Elrond was. So Gil-galad, in like the most canon version of his lineage that we have, was the son of Orodreth, who is the nephew of Finrod and the nephew of Galadriel. And so I know other versions have it like Gil-galad was the son of Fingon, or Orodreth was the brother of Galadriel and Finrod, but he was like the nephew of them. And so if Gil-galad died, either it would pass to Galadriel, who was his great aunt, or it would pass to his cousin Elrond. Now the thing is, and I think it's something worth considering, I don't know if the Noldor had like allowed female reign as the thing with the High Kingship. Because if they did, then Galadriel should have been, or Elrond should have been. Because Elrond never was, because his lineage is traced through Idril, who was the daughter of Turgon. Now, had that been the son of Turgon, I think how the elves had their hierarchy, then he probably would have been High King, right? Like that's how I've always interpreted it. So it's more like, does it pass to a female elf? Because, you know, again, it's inspired by ancient days where they didn't really recognize the lineage passing to daughters and such, and wives, unfortunately. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's because they probably don't recognize that. Hope that answers your question, but I think that's why. And I also feel like there's a mutual understanding from like a more in-story perspective of Gil-galad was the last one. None of us are going to claim to be king or queen of the Noldor, and we're just going to let it be. We'll just be lords and ladies. So there's just kind of a fading over time sort of thing. TJ, out of curiosity, have you read Wheel of Time? A lot of people put it next to Lord of the Rings as their favorite fantasy series. I have not, but Royan, my friend who donated earlier, he has, and he puts it right next to it. I've got to check it out at some point. Council of Gondor, if you could turn any of Tolkien's writing into a movie, what would I pick? Probably the story of Beren and Luthien. I think you could, maybe you'd have to condense it a little bit, cut out a couple things, but you could easily turn that into a single fantasy romance movie that would do really well, I think. Oh, Goldberry's Magic Muffins. I'm sending Numenorian and She-Elf magic your way. I hope your family's okay, my friend. Let's see, where are we at? We are at 1060. Yeah, I mean we've passed our goal, but anything on top of this is most definitely cherry on top. So If you're still wanting to donate, this will be up for another 10 hours, a little less than 10 hours. The charity, and if you want to donate afterwards, if you're watching this, talking to the people watching this in 2026, if there are any who are watching this in 2026, if you want to donate, it's the International Rescue Committee, and yeah, please feel free to donate. I'm sure they'll still be doing great works years hence. So. Alicia, what is my favorite theory about Tom Bombadil? I like that he's an enigma. I like that we don't know, but my favorite is that he is a personification of the music of the Ainur, and that is where his power comes from, is the music. And whenever he sings, he taps into one of the harmonies or one of the melodies, one of the discords, perhaps even of the music. Council Gondor, imagine how many would be offended by a Children of Hurin movie. I mean, I don't know. After Game of Thrones, we can definitely... I imagine the world could take a little bit more. It'd be tough, though. It'd absolutely have to be a hard rated R, I feel like. And, yeah. Also, it'd be a really long movie is the thing. Baron and Luthien, you could condense that into a nice 2.5 hour, 3 hour movie, which is still long, but it's doable. Children of Hurin, it'd be harder for it. It'd be hard. It'd be tough for it not to be a 4 hour movie. Or 3.5 hour. Amanda, could you try to have an interview with Brad Dourif? I'd love to talk to him. That'd be amazing. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I never thought I'd be able to talk to Dominic Monaghan and Billy Boyd. That was such an honor. That was so cool. Something I'm gonna always remember for sure. Really good guys. So. Green Dragon, never releasing Fëanor from prison is just wrong because they did release Morgoth. It's less that he was imprisoned and more that he was dead, I think. The Valar could like choose when to reincarnate him, when to make him a new body, and they would have to during the Dagor Daggerath if that's to be like it. You know, Dagor Daggerath isn't really canon, but if we consider it to be, then he would eventually get reincarnated. So they probably just were like, oh dude, we don't need you. Like, we don't need you rallying up more elves again. Like, you just stay there. We're okay. Yeah, Grimdark. Vigo's probably busy promoting whatever movies. Yeah, he's a super... I mean, they're all super busy, but I know he's super busy. Director, actor, doing all these things. I'd love, obviously, to talk to Vigo at some point. That would be a literal dream come true, but... yeah, no, he's busy. So we'll see. We'll always see what kind of interviews could potentially come our way. Council of Gondor, that's a good idea. Have you ever made a video about the connections between Lord of the Rings and Norse mythology? I like Gandalf equals Odin, Norse dwarves, story about the ring, Bjorn turning into a bear, etc. Thing I'd have to be careful about is always the thing when like making comparisons or talking about symbols or metaphors or anything in Tolkien's works that Gandalf is like equals Odin, right? You'd have to be very careful because Tolkien didn't like that kind of symbolism. So Lord of the Golden Flower, thanks for being here. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Akula, what do you think the war would have been like had Wormtongue remained loyal to Rohan instead of going Team Isengard? Yeah, it would have been a lot different. I don't think Theoden would have been under any kind of curse. They would have openly hunted Uruk-hai and orcs across the plain. Sauron would have been a lot weaker. Theodred might have survived. He might have survived. Imagine he probably would have. Yeah. Marion Baggins, I would love it if you talked to the king of motion capture, Andy Serkis. That would be that would be insane. That'd be such an honor. Oh my gosh. I you know, you never know what'll come your way in life, but I highly doubt I'll ever have the honor to do that. But I'd love to talk to any of them. Ethan Chamberlain, what do you think the Lord of the Rings Amazon show will be called? Can't be Lord of the Rings, right? It's tough. It's a great question. I imagine they might call it Lord of the Rings, and then have a subtitle just to keep the IP in everybody's mind. It's like, oh, that's an intellectual property. That's a property that I know. That's a cinematic universe that I know. I would name it, if they were doing the Forging of the Rings. Ooh, it's hard off the top of my head. I've never really thought about this before, but maybe the Forging of the Rings of Power. Honestly, even just the Second Age. It probably is going to be called, watch, it's probably going to be called The Lord of the Rings, The Second Age. That's probably it. But I don't know. That's interesting. I don't know. The Forging of the Rings, or yeah, something about Numenor. I'm not sure. Moira Mahone. What about Sean Astin and Elijah Wood? Absolutely. Would absolutely love to talk to those guys. That would be amazing. Yeah, honestly, anybody having to do with the Middle Earth universe. Never know. You never know. Do you think dead elves can chat? Big MK asks, do you think dead elves can chat with each other in the halls of Mandos before being released? That's a good question. Before being like reincarnated? Probably not. I don't know. I feel like that'd be kind of like a penance. It's like, yeah, you can't talk for ages. That's a good question. Maybe. I'm not actually sure. Anonymous, thank you so much for the donation. We're really going over the top of the goal here, which is awesome. Amazon Lord of the Rings, Men of the West. That'd be sick. I would be honored for that to be the title. And again, it would kind of make sense with Numenor, but the thing is, they're not only doing Numenor, so I feel like Men of the West would be leaving out the elves, would be leaving out the Sauron and the Forging of the Rings and the War of the Elves and Sauron, so. Council of Gondor, do you think the candles in the Dead Marshes were elves that refused to go to the Halls of Mandos? I think so. I think they lingered. I think that's what I said in my video. It was so long ago. That would make the most sense to me, that their spirits did linger in Middle-earth. I think so. Because men don't really have too much of a choice. The ghosts of men, they kind of have to leave Middle-earth due to their doom. Melkor, hello. How's it going? Thanks for being here. Who would you have Henry Cavill and Jason Momoa play in a Middle-earth series? Imagine Henry Cavill as Fingolfin. That'd be awesome. Henry Cavill as Fingolfin. Jason Momoa would make such a good like Eothade or like Eorl the Young or something. That would be sweet. I don't know. That would be cool. That'd be cool. Yeah, Henry Cavill as any Numenorian. He'd have to be just somebody with a lot of presence. Could be Arfer. I mean, Henry Cavill as Ar-Pharazôn would be kind of insane. That'd be kind of cool. Alicia, do you listen to the Friendship Onion podcast? Yeah. Sometimes they're funny. I really enjoy those too. Council of Gondor. If you wrote Lord of the Rings and wouldn't call it that, what would you name it? 4 hobbits in a mountain of fire. Lord of the Rings is so good. Lord of the Rings is so good. Like as a title. Honestly, maybe just the Return of the King. Either that or the War of the Ring. Maybe the War of the Ring. But yeah, it's funny because like Tolkien didn't want to name his book Return of the King. It's like, oh, the spoilers in the title. He wanted to name it The War of the Ring, if I recall. And I think he built that into his frame narrative, too. He's like, Frodo, what does Frodo name the Red Book or whatever? It's like 4 hobbits and where they were during the Return of the King, So that's funny. I don't know. No disrespect to the people that aren't the biggest fan. I like Jason Momoa. I think he would make a fun Eothade or some kind of man of Rovanion, even some kind of Beorn. Maybe Yeah, Bjorn would be a good one. Bjorn, yeah. Yeah, thanks for everybody showing up. Whether you've been here the whole time or just getting here now, thanks for being here. We'll probably go for another 40 minutes or so. Akula, all I want to see in the new series is my boy Glorfindel. He's been waiting for his chance ever since Jackson left him out of the Fellowship. I'd love that. And I'd love seeing him in the Angmar War. Like, we need a show, a movie, something with the Angmar War. That'd be amazing. So many things would be great in so many adaptations. I think they could really pull it off well. Yeah, the green light bulb. That's kind of my perception of it too. I always perceived that the lack of a king after Galad was due to how irreplaceable he was. If the fall of Gil-galad Tolkien ensemble or the elves' sudden decision to leave has anything to go by. Yeah, I agree. He was something different. Like, he lasted over 3,500 years as king, you know, or so yeah. Henry Cavill should play Tor, says Spy. A big presence. Absolutely. That'd be sweet. James Fawn. Fellowship of the Ring, Treason of Isengard, and War of the Ring were his preferred titles for the individual books. Those would have been really good, too. Treason of Isengard. That's cool. I like that. The thing with Treason of Isengard is it doesn't... I mean, the Two Towers is great because the Two Towers... And obviously the movie changed this and made this more confusing, but the Two Towers are Orthanc and Minas Morgul. And it shows where, like, the duality of that narrative, which is cool. Keanu Reeves as Tolkas. Marion Baggins, who would you want Robert Downey Jr. to play? Ethan says dude who played Ragnar should be in the show. He'd make a good Sauron. Yeah, I think I could see that. Robert Downey Jr. I don't know who I could see him honestly playing in. Some kind of elf, maybe. Feanor? No, I don't know. He could get the attitude down. He could get. I don't know if I could see him as anyone in Middle Earth, but I could be wrong. Yes, James Fawn. I want the Angmar War. I want to see my Hobbit archers that get ignored / forgotten. Absolutely. Momoa could play Helm Hammerhand, I suppose. That would be cool. That he could even voice him in the War of the Rohirrim, and that would be sweet. Chris Hemsworth as Fatty Bulger. That's awesome. Let's see. I think we're at 1080 still. Yeah, 1080 out of 1,000. So thank you guys so much. Yeah, this really means a lot. Let's see. Shout out to Emily Austin Design on Etsy for letting us use her winter Hobbiton scene for the thumbnail. Link to it is in the description below. Let me see. One more time before the end of the video, I'll read off the Valar tier patrons again. But thank you so much. Council of Gondor, do you think Shelob died from the wounds she got, or did she live in the Fourth Age? I personally like to think that that Sam got her in the end, that her wounds passed her away, but in all probability, probably not. She probably lasted. She probably lingered, because Tolkien could have easily written that is what happened. It's like, even as she retreated, she knew that she was doomed from these fell strokes of the Hobbit. And it wasn't like that. So she probably survived, but... Yeah, Benedict Cumberbatch as Melkor Sauron, that would be... Okay. I mean, because he already played Sauron in The Hobbit, and that was really good. So Bungo Baggins, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I always thought the Two Towers were Orthanc and Barad-dûr. So in the movies they are, and that's what I mean. The movies kind of confused that. But if I recall, in the book, the Two Towers because you have these two arcs. The two towers are Orthanc for the first story, and the Tower of Minas Morgul for the second story. And Okula, I also wondered about that too. I thought it was Minas Tirith and Minas Morgul. I don't believe it is, because Minas Tirith isn't shown in the book really from either narrative. I do think it's Orthanc and Minas Morgul. It's such an odd pairing, but I believe that's the two towers. Again, correct me if I'm absolutely wrong here, but the last time that I read Two Towers, I remember being like, okay, got to make a mental note of that. I think at the end of the... Oh, actually, hold on. I have the PDFs. I think it's said at the end of the story, too. So let me go to Two Towers here. Choices of Master Samwise. Or the War of the Ring. Maybe it's at the end of the Fellowship? I can't remember. Counts of Gondor, thanks for being here, man. Yes, okay, so here it is. The second part is called The Two Towers, since the events recounted in it are dominated by Orthanc, the citadel of Saruman, and the fortress of Minas Morgul that guards the secret entrance to Mordor. It tells of the deeds and perils of all the members of the now sundered Fellowship until the coming of the Great Darkness. So, yep, it's Orthanc and it's Minas Morgul. I like all these casting choices in the live chat. That's funny. Noah, who would win in a fight, Galadriel or Luthien? Most definitely Luthien. Because she's the daughter of a Maya. It's a great question. And even Galadriel with the ring, or with her ring of Nenya, I would still say Luthien. See. Chat's slowing down, as am I. We've been going for a while. It's just so much fun. This has been great, and I'm so glad we hit our milestone. We really made a difference today. Let me see here. Make sure I didn't miss anything. Yeah, let me know any other questions or lore topics or anything everybody has, so. Galadriel isn't worth building in Battle for Middle-earth 2. If you've got the funds, why not? But, like, it's hard to throw around 10,000 resources in Battle for Middle-earth. Yeah, I'm honestly, I think we're starting to run out of topics of conversation. This has been great. It's been so much fun. I guess I could talk about, so I've got a couple of videos planned for every Sunday for the rest of this year. Gonna make that Fellowship of the Ring video essay celebrating 20 years of the film. I want to talk about some things that I'm sure other video essays that I've watched over the years and that all of us have gone through. I'm sure I'll retouch on some of those topics, but just want to go through and like look at the impacts that that's had on film, what that could spell for future projects, and how it's still different than anything else made in the last 20 years. So that's this Sunday's video. Got my podcast coming up again. If you are interested in the Men of the West podcast, the Western S podcast over on Patreon, please check that out. Consider supporting the channel. If you want access to our Discord, that's where it is as well. And then I want to remake my video on kind of the frame narrative of Middle-earth. I've learned so much since I made that 4.5 years ago, so that'll be coming up soon. And then I've got some new things planned for the new year. I want to talk about Merry and Pippin's epic character histories. I want to eventually do a Huron epic character history. Yeah, just kind of, clear up some things before the Amazon show comes out, so be awesome. Yeah, Grimdark will do. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. And thanks for being here. Thanks for moderating today. I honestly don't know a lot of actors, so with these questions of like who would I want to play Círdan from James Fawn, or who would I want to play Sauron from Moira? It's hard to tell, man. Christopher Lee was so good as Sauron. It'd be really hard to find a replacement. But yeah, Skylon, that's a great point. Forced Perspective was a great old trick made new again. Yeah, there's so much to talk about in the Fellowship of the Ring video essay, and I know from the outset I'll say it's like I'm not going to talk about it all, but I won't be able to mention it all. But the most amazing thing that I'll, and I'm definitely going to talk about this in the video, is that the Fellowship of the Ring showed us that you could have an adaptation, even in a condensed version, you could have a successful adaptation of an amazing fantasy, wide, sprawling world full of characters and different settings, and have it work on the big screen. And have it not made for the big screen originally, but have it be a book, right? Have this be an adaptation. It's just amazing. Amazing. So I'm so excited to do this different kind of video. James Fawn, do you think any of the river hobbits still live on the banks of the Anduin, hidden and forgotten? I think so. I think in the later Third Age, there were still some that were probably very secluded. But yeah, I would imagine that some Stoor hobbits still lived there. Oh, James Fawn, yeah, thanks for being here. Stumbled on this live stream by accident. That's awesome. Yeah, thanks for being here. This means a lot. Glad talking to you all. Some people that I know, some new folks. It's amazing. Let's see, just make sure I'm not missing anything. I think we're still at 1080. It's great. Thank you to all those who donated, all those who thought about donating or will donate eventually. Thank you all so much. It means a lot. Moira, I know Tolkien wasn't into allegories, but could you make a video on the different allegories? I'd have to be so careful. It'd be a hard video to make. Otherwise, I'd get chewed out by other Tolkien channels, like my friends. And I think they'd maybe have a good reason to. So the whole thing is like Tolkien wanted his fantasy to be escapism. He wanted it not to be some political commentary or some geographical commentary or anything like that. He wanted it to be escapism, something for everyone, I think. And I mean, it even shows when the Nazis asked for a German print of The Hobbit, and he told them off in a really epic way, right? There's that famous like letter of his where he's just telling off the Nazis. It's like he didn't want it to be anyone's story that they could own, that they could possess, that they could twist and manipulate for their own reasons, you know? Anyone's manifesto. He wanted it to be a fantasy escapist story, so I'd have to be very careful about any kind of allegories or anything like that. So no, Grimdark, you're totally good. Thanks for the reminders on that. So Green Light Bulb, thank you so much for the donation. It means a lot. My dog's getting kind of antsy, but we got about half an hour. It's okay. A little less. Yeah, thank you all so much for being here. It really means a lot. Thanks for the donations. Yeah, we went above and beyond our goal, which is great. Amazing. And I hope you all liked this format too. I do, you know, it's fun playing Latro, or, you know, trying to play Battle for Middle-earth, eventually playing Battle for Middle-earth, and then having it crash on a live stream. But I do enjoy this setting of just talking lore in our bag end fireplace, with our bag end fireplace here. So James Fawn, it's about applicability for J.R.R. Tolkien, not direct allegory. That's a good point. That's a good point. I would say that's closer to the mark for sure. It's about, yeah. Hey, Hugh Gedney, thank you so much for being here. Yeah, I hope you have an amazing and safe day as well. Marco, didn't he not want to originally write Want to write Lord of the Rings as he thought he was done with The Hobbit. Wanted to write more about the First Age. I mean, I think there was a part of him that probably did want to write the Lord of the Rings, I would hope, because there was so much passion in that. But his heart was really with the Silmarillion. It was really with Beren and Luthien, Gondolin, the Elder Days. That's really where his heart was, so. See here, yeah, thanks for being here. Grimdark, yeah, I agree. Let's not get into politics or anything too much. Again, I was a political science major in college. I have a political science degree, so talking politics was, and Tolkien was always a great, doing these videos every week was always a great escape for me as well. But Tolkien, I would not say was an imperialist. He had very anti-imperialist notions in his stories, so. Sorry, that's my dog getting comfortable. Yeah, Akula, after living my entire life reading Tolkien's works, I'm still learning something new. I totally agree. Like, that's exactly how it is for me as well. Even just making these videos, yeah. Hugh, thank you. Also, I'm just here to say greetings to you before the live stream ends. Yeah, thanks for coming in. It's good to see you again. Green Dragon, Luthien was powerful. Morgoth and the Sons of Feanor would not dare assail her while she wore the Silmaril. Yeah, I mean, Morgoth might be a different story. I think his servants were scared, but him directly, he had reason to be afraid, for sure. But I'm curious to see if he would have fought her one-on-one, if given the chance, if she had hit one of his Silmarils that he stole from Feanor. But the Sons of Feanor definitely wouldn't assail her. Yeah, Tolkien's lore is very deep. It's very, very poetic, too, so. Well, let's see if we can get to, Oh, yeah, Tolkien's works are still being published by his sons. Well, so his son Christopher did pass away in beginning of 2020, unfortunately. But, yeah, I mean, you've still got Nature of Middle-earth from a different editor, not a Tolkien, but a different editor. So stuff is still being published, which is awesome. But it's more notes. It's not really... You can kind of take it or leave it as canon, as far as canon goes. Let's see if we can get to 1100 before the end of the live stream. We've got about 20 minutes left of the live stream here. We'll start kind of wrapping it up. But let's see if we can't get to 1100 by the end of it. That'd be amazing. And I'd be... I mean, I'm still so enthused by... how far we got. This is amazing. So thank you so much, everybody, for being here and for donating. It's great. Yeah, James Bond. Been reading Tolkien for 20 years. Worked professionally on licensed Middle-earth products, and I learned something for every time I reread one of his works. Absolutely. That's what makes it so fun to read and reliably good time to read, too. You go back and you're like, wow, this is different. The green light bulb says, have you seen the Age of the Ring mod for Battle for Middle-earth 2? It's beautifully designed from expensive and elite Rivendell to corrupting sorcery of Dol Guldur. That's awesome. I think I have. I've looked at that mod. I don't know if I've ever played it. I played the Edain mod. That's one of my favorites. Amanda, what if Ungoliant had killed Morgoth? She would have eaten the Silmarils, which probably would have burned her from the inside out, just like Karkaroth, Melkor's werewolf, or Big Wolf. But I think in the end she would have been far less of a threat than Melkor, because she wasn't as smart as he was. I think he was still a little more calculating than she was. She was more of just a monster. Stuff Man, are there any other fantasy or non-fantasy things you're really into aside from Tolkien's works? I absolutely love Star Wars. I love the Elder Scrolls. I'm getting into that more for sure. Back in Game of Thrones heyday, that was either my number 2 or number 3 kind of franchise behind Lord of the Rings. Not as much recently. Song of Ice and Fire. Also, like, I don't want to necessarily read all of the Song of Ice and Fire because I know George R. R. Martin hasn't published Winds of Winter and isn't probably close. So I do want to get into Wheel of Time. So, Torin, you've been live now for almost 3 hours, but your energy is still immense. Big up, bro. Thanks, man. Thanks. I appreciate it. Yeah, I know. I usually don't go this long, especially with this kind of live stream. If I have a co-host like Royan, or if I'm playing a game, it makes it easier. But usually I don't just do conversation ones for this long. But man, this cause is important to me. Wanted to make it like around 3 hours and really hit our goal. So thank you so much. Akula, after reading his work so much, do you think he could recite the first chapter of The Hobbit or any chapter part of his books verbatim? Not verbatim. That definitely, I've got lines memorized as any fan, I'm sure, but I'm nothing special when it comes to that. There are others that know more about like the word for word or know Elvish and stuff more than I do. So just a Tolkien fan with a microphone, but. I could, obviously I could talk through the plot. I could talk through characterizations and settings, but I couldn't do it verbatim. Homebody. I think Sauron was smarter than Morgoth. Thank God he wasn't a Vala. Totally agree. I think Sauron was smarter, just because the tactics he used, they weren't all like brute force and theft and murder like Melkor's. Some of that, Sauron definitely used some of that, but it was also trickery, especially in the Second Age. Yeah, Grimdark. You would sure love Michael Moorcock, Yoyson. We read one of his essays for at your request for Patreon, but yeah, we'll see. I'll have to check him out. Let's see. We're 14. Is it $14? We're $14 from 1,100. Let's see if we can get there. Thank you all so much. Yeah, it's been great being in this with you all. I made the first donation before the live stream started, just so yeah, we're really all in this together, and it's been such an honor. El Zector, no last name. Hey, Men of the West, your videos have inspired me to start world building. Your videos give so much information and give me inspiration for world building. Many thanks to you. Happy holidays. Happy holidays to you as well. I'm glad that my videos can help you with that. Honestly, with exploring Tolkien for so many years, it's given me, hope and inspiration to build things for like D&D and, for my friends and all of us. So it's been fun. Anaros Larson, have you read any manga? One Piece and Spy Family are my favorite. I haven't, hence my pronunciation of manga. I've definitely heard of it. I've seen it written, but I haven't read it. Do you have any, so One Piece and Spy Family, do you have any other recommendations? Green Light Bulb, thank you so much. Oh, that's an awesome donation. Thank you so much. We're $7 away, everybody. We're $7 away from being $100 over our goal, which is awesome. Astari, I don't know that Sauron was smarter than Morgoth, but he was far more disciplined in the pursuit of his goals. I also think Sauron ended up executing a lot of Morgoth's ideas. That's a good point. I think Sauron was maybe more patient, was maybe more willing to wait than Morgoth. With Morgoth, he was willing to wait to turn the Noldor against each other in Valinor, and then again after, like when he was besieged after the Dagor Aglareb, he was willing to wait a little bit. That's true. Sauron, he had nothing but patience. There were still sometimes he acted too hastily, but he had nothing but patience. Moira Mahone, favorite song by Howard Shore? That's a tough question. That's a really tough question. I have to say, the Battle of the Pelennor Fields is the song name. The Ride of the Rohirrim into Pelennor. It gets me every time. Marita Brandybuck, thank you so much for being here. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to you, my friend. Anonymous donated $10. Thank you so much. Whoever you are, thank you so much. We got over $100 over our goal. That's amazing. That's so cool. Thank you so much. Alzector, I think a video about Kamul would be cool if you haven't done one already. So he doesn't have enough lore for me to do, I don't think, unless I come up with, like, unless I find some commentaries to make on him in the future. I never want to make videos that I don't have something to say, like, even though the topic's cool, as long as I have something to say, as long as I'm, yeah, that's always my thing. So if I find something, but I definitely made my Nazgul video where I mention him a bit. Amanda, why didn't Morgoth make a ring? It's a great question. I think he didn't have the training to do it. We shouldn't forget Sauron was originally a Maya under Aule the Smith. And so he learned how to do crafts, and Melkor really just knew how to destroy and pervert. He didn't know too much about building things, even something as like evil as the One Ring. So that's where Sauron also kind of had him outclassed, and I think was a little bit smarter than Melkor personally, but I could see arguments against that. Scott Caffrey, thank you so much. That's an awesome, thank you so much. That's a great donation. Really means a lot. Enough for our Elmar lore. No. Well, wait, 13 pages? Man. I mean, yeah, like the Kings of Numenor, they really hit or miss whether I have enough content to make videos on any of them. Sorry, Arda was Morgoth's ring. Absolutely, yeah. He couldn't wear it. He couldn't wear Arda, but it was his ring because he marred it. He scarred Arda, so. Homebody, I made a crude vid talking about Arwen, I think. Gonna do one on Andreath and Finrod's little bro next. Man, no matter how you think your videos turn out and stuff, like, it's cool that you make them and it's cool that you publish them. Your first videos are always like, you're like, ooh, I need to improve some things. And still today, I'm like, man, I wish I knew more about editing so I could make this look better. But it is what it is, so yeah. Yeah, no, publish your content, man. Keep making it, keep improving, getting better. It's really worth it. Alzector, why didn't Elrond push Isildur into Mount Doom when he was taking the ring? I actually have a theory. I made a theory video a couple years ago on what if he did do that. Check it out if you want. The premise though is pretty much, it's such a oh yeah, see, homebody, I didn't know that. I didn't know what that meant, so well, I don't promote negativity, but get your commentary out there is just what I would say. Just get your commentary out there. But pretty much Elrond killing Isildur, the new king of men, like the prince, the high prince of men, and that's probably wouldn't have ended well, is the premise. Let's see. Amanda, could Ungoliant have consumed the One Ring? I think she could have consumed it, but probably not digested it. Because I don't. It needed fire. It needed flame to break down. So. Bilbo Baggins, when will you make other Valar videos like Varda, Yavanna, Vanna? Also, some of the Maiar like Arian, Ose, Uinen. So yeah, totally. I want to jump more into those next year as well. I probably won't be able to make all of them next year, but definitely more. I've got a lot of epic character histories planned, to be honest. So great question. Skylon, I always wondered if the volcano would have gone off in the same way if he got pushed in. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that would have been bad for all the nearby troops. Because Sauron his hand was cut, or his finger was cut off on the slopes of Mount Doom. So all those elves and men having to run away from Mount Doom if it did. I think it was erupting already, though, during the siege, or during the battle, at least. So... Um, El Zector, Men of the West, what's your opinion on Game of Thrones and or Song of Ice and Fire? I mean, I loved the first, like, in terms of television and quality and everything, I loved the first couple seasons of Game of Thrones, and I think A Song of Ice and Fire present really interesting and unique narratives. Shout out to Red Team Review, who was in here earlier, Carmine, and Preston Jacobs, and anyone else who makes Game of Thrones videos. I really like Game of Thrones, so I like it until, you know, season 8 and stuff, but we don't talk about that. I don't know. I'm hoping Winds of Winter eventually drops. So Kazor Brooks, what's your plan for April Fools? I'm assuming keeping the theme going, something like, what if Bill the Pony got the Silmarils? I think I've expended the Bill the Pony meme a little bit, so I'll probably do something a little different. I'm honestly not sure yet. I'm glad I've got 4 months to think about it. Tiago, thank you so much for the compliment. It's amazing that you have all this knowledge. Do you get it just from the storybooks, or are there additional sources? Most of it comes, at least I know the roots of it from the books, but honestly, a lot of it comes from Lord of the Rings Online. Like, most of it was like inspired unto me through the game. Because in the game, the experience is very visceral. It has this impact because you hear the music, you're there with your character, and all that stuff. So it's like, oh, I want to know more about Fornost. And then you go to the article, right? You go to the Tolkien Gateway article or the Wikipedia, and it's like, oh man, I need to read about this, like from the writing of Tolkien, you know? So then you go and pick up the Unfinished Tales or whatever, and you're like, yes, I need all this. And so that's how I kind of have done it. I've worked my way into the more and more complex territory of Tolkien until I have the knowledge that I have now, but it's definitely not perfect. I find myself relearning a lot of things or forgetting some things. So, but I would say that I've just been passionate about it all my life, and that definitely helps. Yeah, when you keep your passions that you had when you were a child, I mean, there's definitely something very philosophically motivating about that, but when you keep those things that drove you, that you were impassioned about as a kid, into adulthood, it's great. It's great, and it really makes you a master of something, I think. So, pretty cool. Let's see here. What's the name of the game? Lord of the Rings Online. It's also where we're getting the bag end ambience here. So shout out to Lord of the Rings Online, my favorite game of all time. Yeah, so this is where the ambient in bag end that we're all looking at here comes from. Moira, which language would you want to learn if they were real? Sindarin, Quenya, Dwarvish, etc. Oh, Sindarin, I think Sindarin would have the most, like, applicability and, like, utility, but it's also so beautiful. I think it's probably the most beautiful of the languages. Quenya is beautiful, but in its own way, it's definitely a little harder on the voice and harder on the ears than Sindarin. So Sindarin just flows so well. Mr. Walronda, what was your opinion of the Lord of the Rings score by Howard Shore? Great stream for a great cause, Yoyston. Thank you so much. Thanks for being here. I love Howard Shore's score, and I'm so glad. It gives me a lot of hope for the series, honestly, that he and the guy that made the God of War soundtrack, I'm spacing out and forgetting his name, but both of them working together for the Amazon show will just be incredible. A Howard Shore Numenor, a Howard Shore Valinor song, like, the songs would be amazing. So, all right, we got a couple minutes left here before I think we call it. Yeah, thank you all so much for being here. We made over $1,100 for the international. Oh man, I've been doing this for a while. For the IRC. So thank you so much. Black speech? No, thanks. I'm good. I don't need black speech, but thanks to Emily Austin Design on Etsy for letting us use her Winter Hobbiton scene for the thumbnail. Link to it is in the description below. Again, thanks so much for the International Rescue Committee for what the work they do for raising money for that. So thank you so much. Really means a lot. let's see here. Anything else I should mention? I'll read out my Valar tier patrons here in a moment towards the end, but any kind of last questions, last things to talk about here? Yeah, Bear McCreary. Bear McCreary. Yeah, thanks for the reminder. Yeah, he's the one that's doing he's the one that's helping. I think there might be a third composer as well, but he's also doing the Amazon show score, so. Yeah, Julian Martinez, where can I get this background ambience? So it's, yeah, if you go into Bag End in the Lord of the Rings Online, you can find the kind of fireplace and everything, take a picture of it. Bilbo Baggins, in your opinion, who is wiser, Lord Elrond or King Thranduil? Thranduil was older than Elrond. That Elrond was born in 532 of the First Age. Thranduil was born in 506, 507. Good question. I would say Elrond. I think Thranduil still got caught up in petty squabbles with dwarves who had nothing to do with Thingol and all of that. So I would say Elrond. Anonymous, thank you so much. Another $20 for the International Rescue Committee. Thank you so much. Well, and thank you all so much for these great questions. Thanks for being here, keeping me company for the past 3 hours. It's been amazing. This has been something I'm so proud to have done with you all. Honestly, I should have done. I've always thought about it. It's like, oh, I should do a charity live stream earlier. So I'm glad that I finally did it. My fellow Tolkien YouTubers, shout out to all of them. They can be seen on my featured channels part of the Men of the West. Shout out to all of them, and they motivated me to finally do this at last. So thanks. Big MK, I always get a weird nostalgic feeling whenever I think about Numenor. I think that's exactly right. I think that's how we should feel. It's the kingdom of men at its height, at least before it fell into darkness, and something nostalgic about that for sure. Yeah, okay, that's true. Akula, Elendil's oath in Quenya, that is quite beautiful. Et earelo Indorena Utulian, Sinome Maruvan, et Heldinia ten Amber Meta. Love that. Love that. Yeah, I mean, thank you all so much for being here. I guess yeah, we'll start to wrap it up. It's not quite 3 hours, but I'm okay being a little under it. I should take my dog for a walk before it gets to be too cold or too much night. So yeah, thank you all so much for being here. Let's see, our total on the stream. It's not the end, but it's our total on the stream. How about next stream from Rivendell? That's a great idea. Our total on the stream is $1,143 as of right now. It's still going to be open for 9 hours, a little over 9 hours. So if you want to donate, please feel free to donate after this goes up, or in the months and years hence, feel free to donate to the International Rescue Committee. They do great humanitarian efforts for people that are fighting against starvation, famine, wars that have forced them out of their homes. So this is really us as free peoples of Middle-earth, as the men of the West, helping out our Middle-earth today. Thank you all so much. One more time, thanks to Emily Austin Design on Etsy for letting us use her Hobbits in Winter scene. I'll show that now as we exit here. Yeah, thanks to Emily Austin Design on Etsy for letting us use her Winter Hobbiton scene for the thumbnail here. A link to it is in the description below. Thanks to our Valar tier patrons, Adrian De la Torre, Chris Ortner, Kyle Wetzel, Peter Sheppard, Jonathan Putnam, Mark Kralick, Blair Scouten, Merten, John Hume, Jennifer Wood, Sam McBee, Matt Sibbach, QuantumCatalyst, Elizabeth Calvert, Maz Gibs, Ben Gardner, Condar, Rhys Jenkins, Ádám Petrlik, Khuzan, and Brandon Glidden. Thank you so much. Thanks to all of our patrons. Really means a lot. Grimdark, you're awesome, man. Thank you so much for moderating here today. It's been really, really helpful. Yeah, thank you all so much for the great questions. Thanks for the donations. It's been such a blast. It's been quite amazing. I'm very, very proud of what we did today, and I'm going to always hold this live stream close to my heart. It's honestly one of my favorite things I've done on this channel that we've done together. So, Timbo Took coming in at last. Thanks so much, Timbo. Thanks for being who you are, and thanks for being here. Yeah, thank you all so much, everyone. Thank you all so much for joining me on this adventure. Until the next one, my great friends.